Hello, 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 Twitch chat. Welcome to another exciting Nova Cup cast. Joining me on the stream today, I have Nick Tier and Seto Kaiba. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome to the stream,
Wagwan.
guys. Welcome to the stream. Now, Seto, you're just fixing your camera, right?
Yeah, well, so I'm waiting on it to my wife to give it to me. She said she was doing of.
Okay.
I don't know. It's she sent me a text. She said she was doing of.
Doing of. What's of?
I don't know. I don't know why she capitalized O and F. It's very strange.
Oh, okay. I see. I see. Very good.
So
Very
once
good.
she's finished with whatever that is, I'll have my cam on.
I mean, maybe if your wife does decide to give it to you, then that could be good content for her of as well. Who knows? But guys, enough. We are here for some Nova Cup games, Legion TD the second, and for our first game on the stream, we are going to be watching the triumphant return of King Dans and Widdowson, two names that you guys may have heard of before. They've been kind of floundering around in the wilderness for a while. They played Division 2 last month. Somehow they managed to win down there in Division 2. And now finally those guys are back here in Division 1. So I'm very, very excited about that. And their opponents will be Johnny C and Sagittarius. So pretty cool match for the first game. What do you guys think?
Yeah, it's really impressive. I always knew they could do it. Get up to Div 1. There's something about them. They seem quite good players. So, I mean, they obviously managed to win Div 2 last month, which is no easy feat. So, yeah, kudos to those guys. Hold My Bear though, they do have the best team name in the group.
True.
So, I mean, I'm rooting for my boys. Johnny C and Saji. So yeah, hope they can pull it out.
I'd love to take a moment to talk about King Dan's and Witterson's sort of climb to the top. But first, I have to make sure that I mention that John York City and Sagittarius both get the shout out that they need. And I love so much this pairing because when you have a player who plays Chaos and Fiesta, what do you want your teammate to do? You want them to basically play just everything else. And I think that these two will cover each other's weaknesses very well. And but now talking about Witterson and King Dan's, I couldn't help but notice that, at the beginning of the season, they weren't playing very many games, but they've really picked that up already here and knocked out almost 300 games apiece, each of them. Well, sorry, King Dan's has knocked out almost 500.
Oh,
Is
wow.
that
500
correct?
games?
Since the beginning of the season?
No way. No way.
I could be wrong. Maybe I'm reading this page incorrectly here, but looks to be a good number of games on here.
500 games in the season. That's Yogg level, no?
It's pretty impressive, I believe. Yep.
Well, he might have played 500 games, but he hasn't managed to open up a lobby just yet, so we're going to be waiting a little bit longer, it looks like.
They've definitely been playing more of late, it seems. Or maybe I'm just running into them more because I've been doing my part to help Witter get back up the ladder.
Yeah.
I've fed him a good chunk of yellow in the last week or so.
Good
Getting him back
lord.
up to the top.
Seto, you are not wrong. King Dans has played 470 games
Yep.
this season, which started just over a month ago. Wow. Okay. I think King Dans is on a grind. I think that he's probably played more games in the last month than he's played the entirety of last year. Okay. That's impressive. So I think every time we saw these guys on the mainstream last year, I always opened up with the same sort of preamble, like, these guys, they're really good players, they're the ones to be feared, but they're probably a bit rusty, they haven't been playing much lately. Well, guess what? King Dan's has turned that completely on its head. He's played nearly 500 games in this season alone, which has been out, when did it come out? Like the 9th of January? Wow, okay, he's grinding. So King Dan's on form in his prime is going to be scary. I'm absolutely flabbergasted by how much this guy's been playing.
I've just checked Witter as well. He's closing in on 400 games too.
Jesus.
For the season. So they are both they're at some prolific gaming levels right now.
Yeah, that's insane. Let me just check my own games, because I've played nearly 500. It's actually 45. So I'm at similar levels of practice of Kingdowns and Witherson. But I mean, that's why I had to do a double take, Seto. I kind of thought you must be wrong, but you were in fact completely right. Forgive me for doubting you, my friend.
No, trust me. I thought there was a glitch in Drashir's doobly-doo is his site. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that
I
I second
think,
guessed my own eyes.
I think doobly-doo is the scientific term. So
But yeah, no, I looked it up myself.
yeah. But while we're waiting for this lobby to get open and all the rest of it, maybe, I mean, is your camera ready yet, or is it still?
Let's see here. Let me check my messages. I think we've started a cat channel. Yeah. So once we figure that out, get that up and running.
Is it the cat channel, or is that just more of content? Getting those pussycats up on the stream. All right, we do in fact have a lobby open, guys, so we should be able to get this first game of the February Nova Cup underway without much further ado. Any predictions before the lobby gets underway, guys? I mean, I have to give it to Abrasir just on the strength of their grind alone.
You know what? When there's a will, there's a way, and I definitely see will here.
Yeah, fair play.
My assumption is it's going to be Abrasir, but I'm holding out for the bear.
Yeah, they definitely have the best team name, and that has to count for something, right?
It has to, surely.
Oh, here we go, guys. The lobby is underway now. I think we just have to pad for some time while John New York City does his trademark 5-year-long loading time. So let me just keep on talking nonsense for another 10, 15 seconds, something like this. Everyone else is, of course, fully loaded when I started talking, but John York City's still going. Here he comes now, heading towards the finish line. The February Nova Cup is about to be underway. Guys, here it comes. Game number 1. Let's go! And just let me sort out this game capture.
Oh, no. Well, the crowd actually was wild for just a moment, and here we are entering mild.
And straight away with a Johnny C Fiesta pick. Who saw it coming?
Literally nobody. But that's very Pog. That's very Pog. And this is kind of what you were saying heading into it as well, where Johnny C is a very good Fiesta, very good Chaos player, and Saji can just cover everything else off the menu. And Cartel Fiesta, one of those really classic Mastermind pairings, obviously Cartel being very strong in the early game, while the Fiesta player can afford to leak a couple of times, and then they kind of switch over in the late game, right? While the Fiesta player has snowballed and the Cartel player can afford to lose a bit of income.
Whereas on the other side, with Wither and King, we have maybe the most vanilla picks of all time. With Greed and Lock-In.
Yep.
Do we know what their random lock-in unit was, or...
20 seconds.
No, we don't know what they got stuck with. Yeah, no, not that I can see here, which is deeply unfortunate. What can you do?
That's one to note for Jules, I think. If he can fix that, that would be nice.
I want to say, just right off the bat, I love Poda as a Fiesta catch, just because she's so incredibly strong, and as long as your positioning is good with her, she counts as many healthy units during a wave.
Right, yeah. Anything that kind of regens health or summons or anything like that, anything that's just infinite value is perfect to pair with a Fiesta, and Pota is definitely in that category. Now, unfortunately for Johnny C, he did not get a good Fiesta opener, so he's gone for the Oathbreaker. In fact, I don't think Oathbreaker's very good for Fiesta at all, right? Because AoE in general is one of those concepts where either you're holding or you're leaking everything on 1 HP, and neither of those is really what you want to be doing as a Fiesta player.
While that's true, I really like the Oathbreaker because it allows them to play the guessing game. Are they Fiesta or are they not? Yeah,
reasonable. He certainly doesn't look Fiesta right now because he's on pretty high value with very good units for Wave 2, so...
Good units for Wave 2. However, here we have Witterson and King Dan's both opening Archer, which is its own unique challenge for players, especially because Archer's in kind of a weird state right now where it's not really exceptionally good, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It feels an awful lot like, unless there's Sorcerer in the game, it's just not a unit I ever want to play with, but obviously these guys, you know, they've been grinding games this season, surely they know what they're doing with this open.
Speaking of, I don't think we went over the spells, and we don't really have... so let me say we have Overwork, which is very exciting. However, we have Sacrifice, which is a good counter in its own way to Overwork.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. So there's one very aggressive spell, one very defensive spell. They kind of cancel each other out. But then your third option is not really an economy spell, right? The PTA, it kind of can be. Like, you can turn that Mythium into, oh, this is a big leak. Now, this is kind of, let me come back to that, but this is pretty much what I was talking about for Johnny C. When you're playing Oathbreaker, super low value, you tend to just leak everything, and that's what he's done here. So the big weakness of playing AoE in a Fiesta role.
Yeah, of course the only thing you had to add here was yet more AoE with the Aqua, so it was as always likely to happen, or at least, you know...
A bit of a doomer, and I think his Aqua didn't tank either, right? Because that Oathbreaker died way too quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what was I rambling about before I got sidetracked by the leak?
Spells.
Spells, yeah. So the PTA, I mean, it's a good income spell, I guess. You can turn 80 Mythium into King Ups, or just pure income, or what have you. But most likely we'll see players just taking Sacrifice and then holding on to it for whenever they feel pressured in the mid-game.
Especially first game of the Nova Cup here.
Yep. Ooh, the first power send of the first game of the first Nova Cup of the second month of the year. And it is a Badder Brute wailing away on the Crusher, which goes down quickly, but King Dan's with 340 value looks like he's going to do very, very well indeed. He's going to kill everything apart from a Brute and 2 chickens, which is pretty fine considering that's a power send, you know? And his teammate's going to full cover.
Yep, Witterson here with the foresight to say, hey, maybe I don't need that extra couple of myth this wave, and leaving the rat up for a little bit of extra coverage.
Mm-hmm.
But what's better than one Brute?
How about 2 Brute?
Oh,
yeah, that's the right answer.
Well, speak of the devil, have I got news for you guys? It's 2 Brutes, but Winnerson, it seems, has got effectively the best possible answer to Wave 5, which is this Pilgrim. He does kind of want it to tank, which is going to be difficult with the Archer.
I think his original positioning was more correct in the third column, one below the Archer there, as I believe the Pilgrim would have then tanked more. But if we get a nice even split here, I can take everything back.
Yeah, I thought the Pilgrim was going to tank nothing there, the way the creeps looks pretty close to the Archer, but I mean, he's still leaking though. This is 530 value on Witterson for Wave 5, still leaking 53%. That's pretty punishing, honestly. So, well played there, Sagittarius, with the early game pressure, keeping Witterson under control.
Yep, a little bit of lost rat value there too for a couple waves, so just kind of equally devastating for Witterson there.
Yeah. I mean, he's not out. He's still on 8 workers, 53 income, you know, he's in a decent spot, I would say. He even has a bit of Mythium stored up, so King and Witterson, they still have some pressure being applied against Johnny C and Sagittarius. And when do they decide to pull the trigger? Johnny's got a bit of Mythium himself, by the way. Wave 7 could well be a go against King Dan's, but, I mean, he's still on value here, and he has got that Archer.
All we see this wave is the Lizard. I don't think we're that concerned, even though the Archer isn't that great here. His rats will do just fine. Johnny, interestingly, only down 3 gold from their 1 leak on 3, their 1 massive leak on 3. So their Fiesta is almost a cash out.
Oh, here comes the big send. It is Wave 7 after all. We've got the Mole from Widdowson. We've got the Double Batter Brute from King Dan's. There's a pack leader in Answer from Johnny C. Only income, though, from Sagittarius. So even if King Dan's does leak here, which is not a given because he's on 815 value here, Wave 7, Widdowson should be able to hold despite being crazy undervalue. And they won't really take any king damage. But there's a lot of threat here against the side of Hold My Bear, with big sends coming out from both Widdowson and King Dan's. Will either player be able to hold?
I think King Dan's is not looking super good here, as their most tank value is of course, a natural tank, not super duper great.
Yeah. Or the
So it's
Oathbreaker
getting
goes
melted.
down for John York City. He is clearing up a lot, though. It's not quite the AoE curse that we had on Wave 3. He's doing really well, actually. 60% leak, all of that on low HP. But here's the crux. Sagittarius with the full hold against this 160 send. It's not even going to be just a full hold. He's going to fully cover for his teammates as well, I'm pretty certain. What a performance there from Sagittarius, the cartel player. King Dan's, meanwhile, he did leak, and actually, the king damage is dealt against the side of Abrasiat. That is not what I expected.
No, I
I'm
mean,
not
King,
saying I told
King
you so,
held,
but
King held very well there, only leaking the pack and one little blobbo there. So
no,
that could have
it's
been a
true.
lot worse.
Sure. He is the king, after all. By the way, guys, I don't know if you've got an eye on the Twitch chat, but it looks like we've got Ashton Butcher's fan club in here with some top quality copy pasta. Econ stacking, income racking, big brain builds, no units lacking. Opponents shaking, their king is cracking. Push those workers, Ashton stacking. Love to
Well
see it.
played, very well played. But
Really?
have you seen that Keck W, if they dare to test Ashton's leak? That's jest. Wave by wave, he's still the best. Legion, go, forget the rest.
You need to do a mic drop after that one, I think so too. Do we get a bit of a Fiesta leak here from Johnny C? It looks like no, he's too strong. He's holding comfortably. There was a resend into King, but he stayed very high value, 900 in fact, and he's completely fine now. So just looking at the power score tables, we've got King and Johnny down at the bottom, and then Widdowson and Saggy up at the top. But we have to remember Sagittarius is on that cartel, so he will be taking a big income penalty in just 2 short waves time.
It's interesting how even it's gotten back to, considering going into Wave 7, the Joulsometer was showing something like, I don't know, 67, 70% in favor of Abrasiat, and after only the pack leader getting through, doing a little tickle on the king there, we're almost dead even coming into Wave 9. And obviously, the whole of Wave 7, Widder was on 13 workers, everyone else was below 10, I think, at that point, but the worker scores obviously completely evened out. We've got some giga push from everyone now.
But honestly, quite impressive that Widdowson was able to catch up to that extent, given that he was receiving 2 brutes on Wave 5, right? So,
For sure. I think also impressively, we see Witter's build like kind of coming online there. Everyone's re-rolled, but I like Witter's re-roll here with that APS, Butcher, not that Butcher matters that much, but Shadow Dancer.
yeah.
It's suddenly in a very impressive place, so...
Some absolutely massive sends coming out all around here on Wave 10. We've got Pack from Widder, we've got GK from King Dan's, and then in answer we have Mimic Brute coming out from Sagittarius. Will anybody be able to hold? Johnny actually looks fairly strong here with all the Sunfang Howler spam. Sagittarius, he has a pretty poor Wave 10 build, I have to say. And I don't know. This is looking pretty dangerous now. Now, the one good thing about Aquas, obviously they're generally very bad on Wave 10, but they do kill the Sens quite quickly, so that's a nice silver lining here, while the Sunfangs and the Howlers deal the DPS against the boss, but still looking like pretty big leaks for both Johnny C and Sagittarius. Their king's about to take a pounding. Meanwhile, Widdowson, he does leak as well, 75%, with 16 gold farmed on this Mimic. King Dan's going to full cover though, no? Or maybe not quite full. But a lot of king damage being dealt against the side of Hold My Bear. They're dropping all the way down to 51%.
That's some nice damage.
And we
Very
actually,
nice damage.
we actually see Overwork snap picked by 3 out of the 4 players. So we were talking at the top of the game about Overwork not being too appealing in a game that has Sacrifice available. But, well, these guys disagree, and I have to say they probably know more about Legion than I do, so let's see how they make this work. Obviously, you kind of expect a 12 send with Overwork, but looking at the builds, I'd say all 4 players are pretty strong on Wave 12, no?
I think it looks to me like Everzero have the clear advantage specifically on Wave 12 with their builds, so it does make sense that they've both gone for the Overwork, with Johnny C not quite wanting to commit to that alongside Saji, but I wouldn't be too surprised to just see some income out of them, unless they identify that Witter and King are both going to be incredibly undervalued. But even then, I think King's holding no matter what. No.
If Johnny C can get a really fat wave hold next, then Witterson and King Dan sit on that lower worker count for kind of a long time, where this was a shorter wave 11 since no one leaks, and it could end up being in his advantage. So let's see how it works out.
Yeah, King is very strong. So just income from Johnny and Saji, and presumably going to upgrade their King as well. I completely agree with that. They're not looking like they're going to get any leaks out of their opponents. This Golem I'm not so sure of, though. I'm kind of worried that it's going to make the Azeria tank nothing here, but we'll find out. Meanwhile, Johnny C, he also has a hardened Golem being buffed by his Chieftain, so he's looking pretty strong here, I have to say.
Both of those were hidden golems too. I have to just make mention of that.
Yeah.
Will getting hard be enough for the Bear Blaze?
The left side Oathbreaker goes down very quickly there for Johnny C. You'd have loved to see it survive a little bit longer, but it wasn't to be. And yes, the Azeria died last over here. So I have to say the Golem must have tanked too much. I wasn't focused at the start of the wave, but Johnny C with the dream hold here on wave 12, keeping their hopes and dreams alive, perhaps.
It actually did split tank fairly well, the Azeria with the Golem. It kind of stayed alive. It did what it needed to do, but I mean, being minus 500, I'm sure it does not bode well for your holding chances.
Yeah, not exactly conducive to maximum holding potential, has to be said. So, having a quick look across the board, Abrasiat with 71% win chance, so Jaws not quite wishing to curse them just yet, keeping them safe for now. Johnny C and Sagittarius, they're on slightly lower workers than their opponents, but they've got the value lead as well. Mind you, having said that, they can't really afford another leak with just 23% health on their King.
Yeah, they're certainly on the back foot now.
Yeah, I think we saw Johnny do exactly what they needed to do, what we wanted them to do, but unfortunately, just in the position that they're in, Sagittarius now really suffering from that cartel, really wants this game to be over kind of already, and they're not in the position to find any sort of way out with any kind of reasonable outcome here.
Are we about to see Witterson feed a shutdown to no send, though, is the question on the lips of the nation right now. And I think the answer to that one is going to be yes. So big balls play, big balls play here from the Witterson to hunt 4 pack rats on what has to be said is his worst wave in the entire game. But they're going for this big wave 14 send. So
now Yoni did shift a bit of gold on the 13 there.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that was trying to bait for the 14 send and be overvalue, I don't know. But he will be on value here for the send. It's going to be the closest to it by the looks of it.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any damage. That's the problem with his build, unfortunately, is he just has nothing.
Really
he's got
doesn't have any damage. Yeah.
Mud golems are awesome and badgers are sweet, and you've got a great chieftain to really help everything out, but
I
where's
think
the damage?
There's a pretty good chance that Sagittarius can hold this time around, though. He's got the double hardened golem, he's got the double stimmed veteran as well, so he actually has some damage to go with his infinite tank value. His Azeria tanked nicely. I think he's doing quite well. Oh, but now the Aziri is going to tank too much and go down pretty quickly. I don't know, Chief. Meanwhile, back over in Johnny's lane, full tank, as you mentioned. He will be leaking. I can't tell how much is there. 68% leak there for Seji, and probably similar, 73 for Johnny C, while both Kingdans and Widdowson hold. And you have to say, if they'd just gone Income King, they probably survive here, but like this, they're dead for sure, right?
I don't know. Could be not even close.
Oh!
It's close.
Income
It was
King
close.
It's close indeed, yeah. I mean, that's a bit of a disaster there for Hold My Bear. They do go down to Abrasiat in the first game of the series. That's the greed and lock-in picks being used there by Kingdans and Widdowson. So remember, guys, they cannot use those masterminds again in this series, that is. They are now restricted to other masterminds. But, I mean, that's such a hard position there for Johnny and Sagittarius. I think they were quite heavily behind after the Wave 12 play with the overwork, and then they kind of maybe made the wrong choice there to go with the full send on 14, but it's hard, right? And you also have to think, if Kingdans and Widdowson had saved, even after Widdowson leaking no send, then maybe the full send would have caught them off guard. So it's kind of easy to look back at it after the game and say, well, yeah, Income King would have been the right play, but in the moment it's much harder, and I don't hate the play that they went for there. And I guess at the same time, like, if they go just Income King, that's not playing to win, that's playing to not lose right now, but probably just fall even further behind, right? So, I don't know. I kind of like them going for it, even though it didn't work out this time. And I'd be interested to see what they've got going for them in game number 2 as well, because I don't think that game was massively one-sided, honestly. Like, towards the later waves in the game, obviously Kingdans and Widdowson were really heavily favoured, but Sagittarius and Johnny, they definitely showed some signs of life throughout.
Yeah, for sure. I think once Widdowson and Kingdans identified that Wave 10 was the wave that they were going to go, they had a game plan then that they could execute on, and you know that once these guys are locked in.
Yeah, definitely. But I'd be very curious to see if they're going to try and do something differently. I wouldn't expect them to go for Fiesta again, right, in game 2. I think that's maybe a bit too obvious, and maybe they'll get some snails. But it also has to be said as well, Johnny really didn't have a good Fiesta roll in this game, and maybe that can be the difference maker, you know, if he just has a consort instead of an Oathbreaker, something like that. The whole game could be completely different. So interesting whether they kind of dare to do that again or not.
I would love to see it. I think that Johnny has one of the most fun Giga Brain plays sometimes when it comes to Legion. Just get as far as not even necessarily playing the best, but understanding what their opponent might want to do and therefore doing the other thing.
Yeah. No, he's definitely good at that. When I used to play against Johnny, he would just be living rent-free in my head, you know. I send a brute, he's overbuilt. I send nothing, he's underbuilt. I send income mercenaries, he leaks exactly one lizard to their send, and yeah, he's a very, very good Fiesta player. So we'll have to see if he doubles down and goes back for it, or if he maybe goes Chaos, his other mainstay. We're about to find out, guys, because game number 2 is here. Let's go! Well, Sanchi's gone with lock-in, but not random. So again, it doesn't tell us what he picked.
Oh, he has gone random.
Oh, he has. Okay.
He has, but we don't get to see.
Oh, but you see it. You see it afterwards. I see.
Yeah, looks like it.
And yeah, it's Chaos this time for Johnny C. But Widdowson, now he's saying, well, Johnny C, you didn't have the best Fiesta game there in game number 1. I'm going to show you how it's done. So let's see if Widdowson can make this work.
I think that's very ballsy and almost disrespectful, because Johnny C would be the Fiesta playing into the Fiesta, which is usually the benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. Very true. He has his his options open. He's got several good Fiesta options to start there, unlike Johnny last game.
Yeah, he really does. He's got the Windhawk, the Nekomata, the Goblin Copter, the Devilfish Harpy. In fact, he has like all of the Fiesta rolls in one.
He also has the Wandering Capital, but he didn't pick it. He didn't take it in his role. I did want to see this Nova if we see a little bit more use of that unit compared to last month. I think it has been pretty significantly buffed over the last few patches. I think it's a lot more playable than it was not too long ago. Yeah, I think it makes sense that Johnny's gone for Chaos this game. He said, last game I didn't get to have any damage in my entire roll, so I'll have infinite rerolls, please, and make sure I find some this time.
Let me just roll the perfect unit every single wave. Don't mind if I do. Meanwhile, there was a bit of a Fiesta read here, but against the wrong player. So Sadji Sentinel into Kingdowns, easily held, and Widdowson gets away with his Wave 1 Fiesta. Very nice, thank you. He has gone 6 workers as well, so surely Johnny goes for the post-income snail. He does. Now, he's added this Polywog, which obviously will one-shot the snail, but Widdowson should be going for a pretty healthy leak here.
On top of that, we know that the Goblin Copter is not super great on 2, as it's kind of the exact wrong typing, so let's see how that works.
It does pretty well in the first 4 waves, feels like,
Yeah.
related typing, but yeah, adding 20, that's not going to be enough to hold the deadly snail.
Oh, and meanwhile, King Dan's Waldos as well. This is, that's what you guys were talking about, right? He added the 20, it wasn't enough. It could maybe have been enough if he'd had the even splits to keep the snail away from the whirly, I'm not sure.
Yeah, don't try this at home, kids. Don't
I
go
think
6
that's the
workers with a
real
Fiesta
answer.
mate.
Yeah. All right, so Wave 3, Johnny is incredibly strong. Sadji, incredibly strong. We have gargoyles across the board. We have cats. Everyone here, feeling pretty confident, but we're going to get tested just a little bit with a Robo.
There is a Robo coming out, but the Gargoyle should be able to tank that. And with the Tempest and 3 Pixies, I think the Wave 3 is just going to melt against that AoE.
Absolutely. You can see it just getting shredded right now.
Yeah. The wave is...
Although Jules did shift some of that damage from Seedling into the Chlorapixie.
True. So leaking just the Robo. It's a shame that Sagittarius is not Fiesta. That would have been a juicer. Meanwhile, Johnny C going for the full hold against the Lizard. I think he has enough alive to cover his teammate as well. Widdowson does hold here. Did he get a send? He did not. Oh, because they're going for a try-hard wave 4 send. We've got the double brutes here. Sagittarius is very close to a second brute after income, but I'm not sure he gets it without pushing to 8 workers, which is something he can't really afford to do with that build.
No, Levy, classically not super good on 4.
Yeah, he's going to be just shy by a couple of Mythium here, so presumably he's going to go Robo or Lizard or something. Yeah, there's the Robo, okay. But the Robo's a bit sad, actually, because it's just sat on Gargoyles, at least for now. There will be some much-needed magic damage to try and kill the Nightmare. However, that shift there from Kingdowns getting the Nightmare on wave 4, really bailing him out here, because he would have been in so much trouble otherwise. Fair to say that both players did very well against their Brute Sends. Still, though, they're going to take a decent amount of King damage here. Brute, very, very deadly against the King.
I mean, the King gets hit by 1 Brute now and suddenly doesn't know what to do. He goes all the way down 15% in that attack speed category. And
I just
not what
checked,
we're used
actually,
to
and I think it's -2 rather than 15. I think the Brute is... because that would be wild against the King, right? -15%?
You're right, that'd be OP. We couldn't do something like that.
But regardless, they're still on 57% health on wave 4. So not an ideal situation. It seems that Hold My Bear have come out swinging here in game number 2, not wanting to go 2-0 down in the very first game of the day. But we have a counter-attack here from Kingdowns with a Batter Brute into Johnny C. Hardened Mudman, will it be enough? Because he's pretty bad on 5.
Pretty bad on 5. I don't know if the mask is going to kill the king here. No.
Oh, he has no DPS, right? Yeah, the mask goes down. Now the king, Mudman goes down. Should be a decent leak here, but still the Slime Mommy's going to add some value in meanwhile. But how did the Brute Resend do? Widdowson 50%, and Kingdowns once again very, very good, but still leaking. That's another 2 Batter Brutes onto the King of Abrasiat. They don't have too much King HP to spare.
No, and it looks like Saji has more than enough to clean up Johnny's mess in the middle there, so it's just yet again more damage onto Abrasiat. It's a very nice early King HP lead for the Bears.
It certainly is. They're 26% remaining. Jules is still quite happy with the way Abrasiat are playing, though, giving them a 46% win probability, and that all comes down to the workers, right? We've got Widdowson on 11, Kingdowns on 10, Saji and Johnny are both quite far behind, but the reason for that is that Widdowson is applying a large amount of pressure here. There's going to be double brute, probably a robo as well, into the lane of Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is very weak here on 6. He's on value, though.
I mean, this needs to do some work, I think. Otherwise, you're gonna see that Julesometer shift way back.
Yeah.
Jules does not like you sending your Mythium.
He's not a fan, especially if it doesn't do a ton of king damage, right? And the thing is, Johnny C should be quite easily holding, I think. Widdowson 66% meanwhile to the Brute Resend, but there's that 92% leak on Sagittarius, and Johnny C has very little left alive, honestly.
Yeah, but it's a mask, and it's just going to help clean up just that little bit here. So
it does kill
the
a brute.
king will get off 1 or 2 spells, and that'll be that. It'll be the end.
Yeah. So a bit of much needed return king damage there from Abrasiat, but even more health being lost here with the Batter Brute, dealing another 2% damage against the king.
I feel like a brute has seen the king every wave since 4.
Yeah, it definitely feels that way.
It does feel that way. This feels also like the first wave of the game that Saji and Johnny have not sent. They finally cottoned on.
True.
We're looking for a killing blow now.
That's all they need at this point. I mean, the king already not feeling super good. A strong gust of wind might just top it over.
Yeah, and they are stockpiling their bricks on the side of Hold My Bear. They've smelled blood, and now all they need to do is go for the throat. And when do we think it's going to happen? I mean, Widdowson looks terrible on 9. Kingdan's not much better currently, though both of them have good options in their role.
Yeah, I mean, 3 cats seems like a lot of cats.
That's a lot of cats for wave 9, yeah. And here's the pro leak from Sagittarius, making another long wave while they stockpile those bricks. And the worker lead finally, by the way, has gone in favour of Sagittarius and Johnny. So things are looking pretty scary for Abrasiat. And yes, it is a save here from Hold My Bear, with yet more income king coming out from Kingdowns and Widdowson, just desperately trying to survive. Can't blame them, by the way. Things are looking quite scary over there.
And it looks pretty nice for the rest of the early game for the Bears as well, because they were both looking terribly weak on 10, and making sure this pressure's applied so that they don't have to suffer a long save into them on their weak wave is meaning even if they don't end the game on 9, if they choose to send there, it's taken a lot of the risk out of going into the mid game for themselves as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. And it seems like Saji has basically gone for a wave 8 suicide push, right? He's on 16 workers, he's 200 under value, he's leaking 75% here. Widdowson did smell it and added a brute to his income send instead of king up. So Widdowson will be farming quite a decent amount of Burt here, it has to be said. Will that be enough for him to hold this mega send on wave 9 though?
Oh, it's going to be a big one.
Uh,
my God.
yeah, Four Eyes on the King pre-10 with no attack spells could spell doom. Like if that gets through, that's that. It's ogre.
It's
It is.
all
How do you guys feel
ogre.
about the 5 brute send into?
I
Feels like
don't
that could
think
be-
that's
I kind of
it.
hate it.
That
Yeah.
that feels like a last patch kind of send, you know, before the better
Exactly.
brute changes. So now the brute is really good when it's one brute attacking a carry unit, but brute spam I
Speaking
think
of
is
last patch.
significantly weaker.
Yeah. Oh, there's a
The
6th
Tree of
one in as well.
Knowledge.
Well,
The Tree
I
of
mean,
Knowledge significantly nerfed on this wave here, though, compared to last patch, as you know, it doesn't gain mana. when it's
from being attacked, you're right, yeah. And when it has minus 15% attack speed, it also gets less stats that way. The sends are enormous here. The 360 there for Widdowson, the 400 for Kingdowns, but is he just holding? He's just holding.
What a beast. My God.
Kingdowns, 1400 value on wave 9, quite possibly the highest wave 9 value I've ever seen. And he doesn't even have like kingpins or something to inflate it, right? And that insane hold there by Kingdowns keeps these guys not only in the game, but I have to say they're ahead now.
Yeah, that's a game changer.
That's a game changer. They're ahead by miles. Kingdowns and Widdowson both on fire here for 50 gold shutdowns on wave 10, while also having insane work accounts and income amounts and going for a full resend here where their opponents look pretty terrible. Sagittarius, I mean, he's actually got decent units, but he just has no value, and Johnny C just doesn't really have any units apart from this one here for wave 10.
Yeah, it's kind of ogre in a different way now.
Yeah! Kingdowns with the easy 400 Mythium hold there, just turning this game on its head. And here we have Sagittarius leaking 81% against income and a couple of robos, and Johnny C will not be holding either. So this game not only turned itself on its head, but Hold My Bear didn't even manage to protect that wave 10, which you mentioned, Nictir, being their weakness.
Yeah, I was thinking at least sending there kept the pressure off, but obviously just the one long wave was enough to get some sizable sends back onto them, and this is deadly. There's only one king up on the side of Johnny and Saji, so they're going all the way down to 33% now. So they've completely turned this game on its head.
That's absolutely insane. And by the way, Abrasiate are now miles ahead. They have the king HP advantage as well. So not only are they leagues ahead in terms of economy and income and all the rest of it, but they now have the king HP lead and of course the king upgrade lead as well. So things are looking pretty rough for Hold My Bear. They're going to need a miracle to turn this one around.
Yeah, so quick question here, Saji. They have a carry unit. They put down more levies this wave instead of investing in that carry unit. At what point do you think we put down the carry unit and start giving it the buffs that we have for it?
I mean, I think he's just never planning to hold this game. These guys basically have one Hail Mary left in them. I don't know if that's going to be like wave 12 or 13 or what. And if that doesn't work, they're just going to forfeit the game. So
Yeah, no. I see they did a little bit of a pushy here.
yeah. But here's the thing, Kingdowns and Widdowson, they both take Saviour as well. So all of a sudden, all of that early game king damage, it just doesn't matter. They're at 76% HP now, on top of having, you know, the massive income advantage. And they're just in such a strong position, it's absolutely wild. And look at this. Widdowson is just farming this Burt to his heart's content, going for a full resend here on 12, knowing that Sagittarius is effectively suicide pushed already in this game. So he's just going to get even more gold and pull even further ahead, because once again Sagittarius is going to leak the entire wave. And how do they ever break them? Like Widdowson's 2.6k value here on wave 12. He's just going to gain more and more value every single wave, farming that leak gold against Sagittarius.
Yeah, he's also got like kind of good units for the next bunch of waves too. You know, he's sitting pretty.
Yeah. Sagi, meanwhile, 500 undervalue. This game just completely flipped with that wave 9 hold. I mean, sure, the alternative was just losing on wave 9, right? But with King Dan's dream hold, this game just feels impossible now for Hold My Bear. 94% leak against a Mole Hermit there from Sagittarius. This game feels doomed, guys.
A little bit. Sagittarius here picked the giant snail and hasn't used it yet, and it also sees that there's units that can pretty much wipe out the snails or not care about the snails pretty much all across the board here. So I don't know if I love the snails, and he knew the gates were there. He knew that the violet was there.
They can't save longer though, right? They do.
Well, they
Okay.
can't send here either, though. They're forced to commit to the bit. This is going to be Dan's and Wither's strongest wave, and they've just seen they're still on value. So they got to risk it for a biscuit, you know.
But Sagittarius is leaking everything. Like he's not. He might kill the snail if he's lucky. You know, he's not really killing anything else here. So Johnny C. I mean, sure, he's very strong here, but he has to hold 2 waves. And they don't have any king. So he literally has to hold 2 waves.
He can do it.
Come on, Yoni.
Make it happen.
Seji will leak everything, so let's just have a look at Johnny here. He needs to pull off a miracle now.
Now, I'm assuming with whatever gold Sagi gets from killing the 1 creep and a send.
Oh, he actually killed 1
But
rocker.
he's
That's
gonna
crazy.
fully Sui here for the 14 send, but he's not, so I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking now. I mean, Johnny, he's still got his full HP lifesteal solve.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, a lifesteal sovereign probably is one of the units you want to have if you need to cover 2 waves.
Oh, and they're living up to their name. Johnny's asking the
my
question,
bear. Yeah.
Can you hold my bear? My bears.
My bears. Hold my bears. Well, we're about to put that to the test for sure. Sagittarius actually didn't go for the Sui push further, which is surprising because this is all or nothing now. Like, the game is over on this wave, one way or another.
It is. I don't know. Maybe he's thinking, you know, this is the closest he's been to on value since wave 7. He's finally got a yellow number instead of a red. That's a pretty sizable upgrade.
It's pretty pog.
Yeah.
I mean, Witterson and King Dan's have not been able to push a worker in quite a few waves, so let's see.
Yeah, but Witterson's 4.1k value. He's 355 over value here when the send comes, and that's just all thanks to Bert, right? We have to remember to thank Bert, because he's just farmed so much gold from leaking Sagittarius wave after wave after wave, and that puts him in this insane carry position now, where he is in fact able to hold the bears. Is he just going to full hold? I mean, he's held the bears already. They're both dead.
He's leaking the home, yeah.
He is leaking 38% there, 150 gold shut down. King Dan's will leak as well, so that's going to be another 75 gold shut down. But it's just not enough, guys, right? They're getting a ton of shutdown gold here, but very little king damage. Barely any king damage, in fact.
Barely. Just
barely
anything happened there.
I see
that
what
Tree
you
of
did
Knowledge, thank you, from Witterson actually did 6,000 damage. That's how long it lived.
Yeah, that's crazy.
On wave 14. A wave that it's not traditionally that good.
This is a 250 gold shutdown here on Witterson. I think that might be the largest shutdown that I've seen in an Overcup game. You know, outside of some like crazy wave 25 shenanigans, right? The 250 gold shutdown on 15 is unheard of. That's how far ahead Abrasiat are in this game. Now, I don't mean to be a negative Nancy, but I think it's quite hard for Hold My Bear to come back into this one.
I mean, according to Jules, they have a 2% chance, and to be honest, that feels a little high.
But you're saying there's
really
a chance.
Back against them.
Yeah.
Not only did Saji not continue to follow through to commit to the suicide push for that send, but he's actually not pushed since Wave 12. He's still on his 23 workers and is completely out of the game now. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is exactly they're angling for now. Presumably they want to wait for a send from Witter and King, go for some, some tee-hee-hee, very long save and hold the next send, but I don't see that happening.
No, because here's the thing: King Dans and Widdowson are able to push a ton of workers while still being overvalued. That's just how strong of a position they're in right now. That and the fact that they were both 4,000 value on 14, so they didn't need to build for the next two waves anyway. But yeah, I mean, they have more than double their opponent's worker count, and they don't seem to be slowing down.
So I can tell you exactly what is going on here. I don't know if you guys recall, but I said, hey, Saji's got carry units. Where are the carry units? Saji put down the carry units, upgraded them, buffed them, said, hey, I'm playing this game, and then kind of might have forgot that workers do matter.
Yeah, he's trying to come back into the game with a strong build, which is a nice attempt, but he's just too far behind. I don't know. It feels like Wave 14 was their one shot and he needed to commit to it. But having said that, what difference would an extra worker or two have made, really, on Wave 14? Yeah.
We're fine. We're fine.
I mean,
don't worry about it. This is so fine.
It is his natural
We're
tank.
in it.
It is his only natural tank, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel
No.
good. He's minus
So-
1100 value. Johnny C's not far behind. The send does come here on 17. They're not expecting it. There's no Harden. And I think these guys are just donezo. Look at this. 1320 Mythium for Sagittarius. 1100 for Johnny C. I mean, they need a miracle. Is it going to happen?
Who knows? This is probably a good time to mention that for those in chat who don't know, buffs of the same name do not buff each other. So if you have a couple of butchers buffing each other, they aren't doing anything. You do need that head chef.
They are happy together, though, in that circle. It has to be said.
That's fair.
But here we go. We've got 100% leak on Sagittarius, 150 on Johnny C, and hold my bear in this remarkably yo-yo roller coaster of a game come out on top, and it all comes down to this Wave 9. Look at this. They're in the lead from Wave 2 all the way through to Wave 9, favoured to win, and then we get this Wave 9 400 Mythium hold there by King Dans, with his chieftain buffed Green Devil just tanking the Four Eyes for eternity, it must have been, while his gate gets out the summons and his natural units do the damage on the left side, and an insane hold there from the King, keeping these guys in the game and of course ultimately piloting this one to victory. So very, very well played there by King Dans, putting the team on his back, and a very well deserved 2-0 victory there. Abrasiat, they are scary, man. I mean, I know the three of us, we were all talking about this before the game started. When Abrasiats are on form, they're terrifying. King Dans and Widdowson, they've both been playing literally hundreds of games in the last month, and boy does it show, because those guys are on form, and that form is terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, when you can't win a game after the first 5 waves that they had, you can't ask for better than that. And for them to be able to turn games like that around and still look like they're dominating harder than anyone ever has when you're getting into the later stages of the game, I mean, that says something, doesn't it?
It certainly does. That was a masterful performance there. In fact, every time we saw them under pressure, they just came out ahead, right? Like there was in the first game, Widdowson got 120 Mythium on 5, and then he was already the highest workers in the game by Wave 7. Like these guys, somehow, I don't understand it, I'm not a good enough player, but they can take that pressure and then just flip it on its head and come out on top and just steamroller the other team. in their counter attack. It's incredible to watch. They're phenomenally talented players. We'll have to see. I'm excited to see their journey through this tournament. We will get to see them again in the upper bracket match after the break. But I think, guys, we should take a quick 10-minute break before that happens. Any last comments on that game from you two before we break?
Yes, just really quickly here. I didn't notice this or keep track of it because I'm a bad caster. Sagittarius hadn't held a wave sub 40% since 6, and
Jeez.
I think that might have been part of where they went wrong.
That could have been the downside, yeah. That could have been the down because Widdowson, I mean, he just got so much leak gold out of Sagittarius, right? I would love to have seen exactly how much gold, but it must have been in the several hundreds. And it showed. That's why he was 4.1k value on 14, easily holding there. And you know, I mean, he was just never going to lose from that position of power. So, very well
Yeah.
played, Abrasiet. Absolutely back in style here in February Nova Cup. And yeah, so guys, we are going to have a quick 10-minute break. Don't go anywhere. Just let the players and casters have a rest. But to keep you guys entertained during that break, my lovely co-caster over here, Nick Tier, has prepared an absolute banger of a song which is inspired by last month's Novacast. So, Nick Tier, would you like to introduce this song since we have you on the cast?
Sure. There's not much more to say than you just said. It's just truly inspirational comments by yourself on the last cast. I was watching the entire way through this series to see if we did hit a 69% score on the Julesometer, but sadly not to be. But we all know the curse that it brings.
Fate is a fickle mistress indeed. Guys, enjoy the song. It is by Nick Tier. It is called Someone Like Jules. All right, welcome back, guys. Enough about duels for now. I'm sure we'll get to play the song again in between the next set of games. I hope you enjoyed the calypso, the dulcet tones there of Nick Tier, with vocals by yours truly and Seto Kaiba. So a glittering panel of stars collaborating for that track. I think it's fair to say.
I'm just so honoured to be casting a Nova with my two favourite venting text to speech enthusiasts.
We are bots.
I think you can just call it readers. I don't think you need to make it weird.
I mean, everyone reads venting. Not everyone produces content from it.
True.
I'm so glad that you two
Orators. Orators, I think, is my preferred term.
That's a good one. Yeah.
So, is your camera ready yet?
Let's see here. I just got a text from the wife, and I guess this takes longer than we might imagine. I don't understand it.
I mean, normally
Did
that
she
sort of thing
say-
takes 20, 30 seconds max, right?
I mean, for me, that's the longest I've ever needed. At
Right.
like, let's go, and then suddenly I hand off the camera. It's just what is happening here.
I don't understand it either. But for now, we're going to have another exciting Legion TD's Y game to play. It is going to be Kingdans and Widdowson back again after the absolute pounding they just gave to Sagittarius and Johnny C. This time around, though, their opponents are going to be Fine and Povided, the several-time Nova Cup champions in their own right. So we'll have to see if Fine and Povided are able to put up more of a fight than Johnny and Sagittarius, or will Kingdans and Widdowson just continue their demolition derby through the February Nova Cup? We're about to find out, guys.
I'm a big Fine fan. I have always loved their determination. When you watch them stream and they say, I'm going to play this mastermind today, they just play that mastermind today. And it has got to be, for me, I hate repetition. For me to do what they do, I'd probably be much better at the game if I learned. Because that's what they're doing the whole time. Like, they're like, okay, is greed good? I'm going to play 12 games of it, and if I go 9 and 12, it's okay.
Yeah, he's definitely one for kind of refining the same strategy until he has it perfected. But I mean, also just another grinder, right? I don't know if we've had a look at the games played by Fine and Bovide, but I think both of them play an awful lot, so they should be on good form. I don't know if anybody can match Kingdans' games played this season. Fine is up there with about 200 games, so not too shabby, honestly, but nowhere near King's 500 almost. But yeah, I mean, these guys are two very, very good players as well. Povided actually finished last season with the highest elo of all time, not just the season, but of all time. So clearly must be a very strong player to get into that position as well. And they're just extremely strong ladder players. So it'd be really good to see if they're able to get one over here on Kingdans and Widdowson. They have done so in the past. But the form that Abrasiet have shown us so far today, I'm just very, very scared of this team right now.
Yeah, they stopped warming up last month, and they kind of just kicked it into high gear here.
For sure. And when these guys are in their prime, in high gear, whatever, they are just absolutely terrifying. I think I've probably said that once or twice already, so I'm going to kind of dial back a bit from the endless praise for Abrasiet. And we'll have to see if Ram Pam Pam can turn the tables here. We're about to find out, guys, because game number 1 is here. Let's go!
I'm a big fan of these spells. You're kind of forced to play the game after 10 here. So with the allowance is 100 gold. That's neat, but what is that really in the grand scheme of things? It's more the overwork and the all-out assault. Both have drawbacks. If we're anticipating the Big 12 send, maybe Overwork isn't the one that you want. Maybe it is All Out Assault despite the income loss. But both of them, as long as we're looking at good workers, can be pretty reasonable in the amount of Mythium gained. Of course, if you have that long 11, if you're not looking so good, say you have a Casket as your main tank on 11, then maybe you are looking for that Overwork play, or get that extra Mythium in.
Yeah, completely agreed. And the all-out assault / overwork pairing is the sort of mastermind spells that completely defines the game, and you can see it in the rolls, right? Arguably all 4 of the players have selected units almost specifically to try and hold wave 11, 12. So you've got like the Shadow Dance APS tree stuff on King Dans, you've got the Bonk there for Widdowson, you've got Azaria for Fine, and even Pavida has like Oathbreakers and Violets as well. So those spells are so strong at that point in the game. Wave 11 aggression, very, very dangerous, and all 4 players have responded by picking units which are very strong on those waves. So you'll love to see it.
Love to see it indeed. We see the Snail going into the wrong lane once again, so Witterson and King Dans are getting off very, very lucky, because that Snail could have been very devastating for Witterson.
Yeah, completely agreed. They've done very well to dodge the snails, right? I think both times the snail was sent to King Dans, and both times he was easily holding it, while Witterson would have leaked decently, so...
We do have, and I forgot to mention, we do have 2 lock-ins this game. We have a Greed and we have a Cartel. Cartel we've already seen once today, didn't work out super good. That post-10 play, unfortunately, kind of backfiring really badly for Sagi in the first game of the series.
Yeah. Another snail coming out here on wave 2. But the Casket gets off the spell, and that's a very easy hold again for the King. I think it was just income, though, from Pavida. I don't think he expected to leak King Dans at all. Meanwhile, there was, again, not a snail into Widdowson. Again, a full hold. And here we have King Dans with 7 workers on wave 3. So a very, very strong start to the game for this young man, and should put himself off to a very good snowball in this early game. And if there's one person who you don't want to give a good start to, it's the King.
Despite Seedling getting a massive nerf this patch, I think that Casket Seedling is still going to be just fine as an opener here.
Yeah.
So what can you do? You open 7 workers just by accident.
Yep. I mean, it's just unleakable on 3, right? So that's why they can get away with bloody murder here. 7 workers on 3, and completely safe to do so. Meanwhile, we have got... Sorry, go ahead.
It is weaker than ever on 5, though. It does start to make a difference, I think. Wave 5, where it used to be a nice little bit of tickle damage behind whatever else you're building as your answer.
Mm-hmm.
But it's pretty worthless beyond the first 4 waves now, it feels like.
Yeah.
We do actually have a question. I mean, King Dans, their 5 is a little sus right now. Like, they will have the Treant for next. They didn't show it here, which was probably the better call, as it'll have more the stacks going into the next wave by not placing it down. But
yeah, we do see Dan's adding yet another unit that's weak on 5 and 6. So he could be in trouble if the brutes start rolling again.
Yeah, and if the wave is long enough, and Pavida might be leaking here to this DT, then that's Hermit territory, and then King Dans is in real trouble. Oh, but the wave is just too short. Look at this, it's 79 Mythium! The Hermit would have been absolutely devastating there for King Dans, but in fact, Pavida just completely saves. There is that Treant that you mentioned, Seto, but the Send is not coming here.
The Send is not coming here, meaning that Treant will lose a stack for next wave. Not that it's that great of a unit next. The extra, fortification into impact doesn't.
What is his answer
good
for 6 right now? Because he has nothing in that role that's looking like it's going to salvage whatever Send's coming.
I think the answer might just be Income King, because he doesn't really have another. And if Pavida sends a mole, half of King Dan's board does literally 0 damage. So
Yeah.
meanwhile,
well, 75 gold into seedlings there, yep, will be wasted.
yeah. Now, Fine does leak 58% to the Brute here, so that will be both some much needed gold going over to the side of King, and also a little bit of King damage as well. There's that mole, yeah. So Pavided finds the mole button, and King Downs is going to be in a lot of trouble here on wave 6.
Yeah, what do we do here? Do we like kind of just brace for impact? I mean, we do know, thankfully, that Witterson is looking at some really juicy Swift boys here, but there's not a lot of other answers.
Yeah, I don't know. And Witterson also can't afford a split if he goes for the Nightmare here, which could be problematic. He can't control the aggro of the wave. King Dan's deciding that the Boom Tree is his best answer, and he's probably right, honestly, looking at that roll. Boom Tree, of course, doesn't care very much about the mole as well, so he does have that going for him. But yeah, look, the entirety of King Dan's build, other than the one tree, doing absolutely no damage. And even the tree just doesn't help. That's a 109% leak here on wave 6, while Witherson 65% as well. Rampampam absolutely out of the gates, blasting here in game number 1.
Yeah, they're going to feel really good about that. And we do, for the first time, I think, see Witterson and King Dan's in a sizable disadvantage. Like, we did see a pretty good turnaround in game 2 versus them, but it obviously all fell apart by wave 9.
Yeah, sure. So how are they going to turn this one around, right? Because I think that game against Hold My Bear, they were on like 20% HP around this stage in the game, and they just completely flipped it on its head.
Yeah, I think the difference being they made an educated guess that they could get away with some pretty hard push wave 6 and 7 after those few really bad brute leaks onto the King, and they just got 3 or 4 rounds of income King in before the Sens came 9, plus Saju leaking hard every single wave. They got some massive amounts of gold for the eventual Sens.
Yeah.
This time, Paladin and Fine, they're ahead in workers, they're ahead in income, they're ahead in every metric right now, and they are not leaking all that Burt gold.
Yeah.
So it looks like a lead they can easily keep going.
Yeah.
We're the only one saving his bricks right now.
Yeah, he feels the need to apply some pressure, but only going for the income here against Povided, so he should be easily able to hold like this.
I also just like these roles. I feel like Poeded and Fine have strong roles, whereas Saji and Johnny C last game had obvious weaknesses. We're getting out of the early game for Poeded with a reroll. We didn't see that much from the other games.
Yeah,
That's true, actually. Even with Johnny C's Chaos Pig, he didn't roll a good damage unit for the first, I don't know, 8 waves of the game or something. It seems like the Johnny C curse, no damage, all tanks. Not so much this game. Everyone's got some very balanced playable rolls.
Yep. And Povided, of course, easily holding his 900 value here, so he was feeling the pressure at least. Witterson did manage to keep his workers low for as long as possible, but now Povided has been able to push. He's caught up with 15 workers, and he should crucially be able to hold here on wave 9, where King Dan's has gone for a full send into Fine, but Fine, honestly, not that weak here. He's going to be able to add the Sovereign, and has kind of decent tank value otherwise with all of that natural HP.
We are looking here at so 9. I keep forgetting because I've been afraid of 9 for kind of a long time here. It's probably my greatest pre-loss 10, which of course makes sense. Wave. Uh, sometimes you don't realize how dumb the thing you're saying is until it comes out. But what are you going to do? But 9, we can't forget, has been nerfed this wave or this patch, and I think we're feeling it. You know, like there's no reason why an Avenger on 9, when its best tank prior to that was the Wild Shroom, should have really been able to pop off there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
That's great.
I thought he was just going to full hold, honestly. Like, one more hold, heal from the Priestess would have been a full hold, but still, regardless, a 33% leak, just an injured pack leader sneaking through, 0 king damage. Fine is very happy with that outcome. And look at this, Jules very happy with that outcome as well, giving Rampampam a 77% chance to win this game as a result of all of the metrics, right? Their economy's ahead, their workers are ahead, their value is, okay, not ahead, but basically at the same place, and they just are in a super, super strong position right now. Sure, Pavidad has that cartel, so he will be losing, 36 income next wave, but his economy can more than afford to do so. And on top of that, guys, they are stockpiling those bricks. Look at this, 280 for pretty much for both members of Rampampam, and Kingdans and Widdowson not looking fantastic on 11 versus a 400 Mythium send.
For sure. We are going to get a little bit of a baby leak out of Fine here. They have the Poda, not even an Aziri on this wave. But does it really matter? No, you like this time.
I think Fine is very happy to leak here. Yeah, like you say, more time to generate that Mythium, the blue stuff. More time for this killer send here on wave 11. There's the overwork snap pick from both players. They certainly have the workers to support it. Allowance is there as the defensive spell from Widdowson and Kingdowns, but they are receiving such a massive send here from Rampampam. They're going to need to do something special to survive here, but Kingdans has been known to pull off a hold or two in his time.
Kingdans has been, earlier today had that amazing hold with their... But we are looking at a Ram. We need this Ram. I think we need the Ram to go right, or else we risk that weird 11 interaction here from Kingdans, no?
I think... Oh, no, because a snail has been added. That's a snail... Oh, wait. It still pulls all of the melee stuff? Because it's a melee unit that's really high up here. And all of the stuff, including the Dread Knight, just stuck on this Siege Ram for eternity. The Dread Knight, the main body, is already dead! Wow, this is going to be a mammoth leak here for Kingdowns. A miracle hold he did not pull off. 114% leak for him. Widdowson, though, 440 Mythium sent, only leaking the 4 eyes, and that injured. This might be enough to keep them in the game, but it's yet more gold, yet more king damage in favour of Rampampam. These guys are in a commanding position here in Game 1.
Absolutely. Here.
I mean, Dread Knight is one of the best units you can possibly hope for on 11, but there's just nothing to back it up. He's just got so much dead value with the 2 archers, Casket. You know, it's no surprise to see the main body getting targeted fairly early there. Widder's Shurikens did some massive work though, some heavy lifting, allowed them to keep in the game, but yeah, I mean it's a very uphill battle from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, Widdowson had the trees, which was great, but aside from that, all they had left then was the Swift tanks. So you cut through those trees and suddenly you're able to do a lot of work with the wave.
For sure. I'm just looking at this gold gained from leaks, by the way. This is something I kind of forgot existed. Would have been interesting to see Widdowson's gold against Sagittarius in that one game, but here I can see that Pavidad has 254 gold, Fine has 216 gold, with a fraction of that for both Widdowson and Kingdans. So really puts it into perspective to see just how much additional gold they're generating from bullying Abraceit like this.
We are seeing Pavidad already entering their final form here, only on wave 13. We have half of the Wylets we need to win the game.
Yeah. 4,
Exodia
of course, being the magic number. Yeah.
That's not quite the angle I thought you were going there, Seto, because I don't see a single final form here. I was confused for a second.
Pardon. That's yeah. You're spot on. I shouldn't have done that to you. That was kind of rude.
All right.
All right,
Everybody
so
is.
what is the play?
Well, everyone's stockpiling their bricks currently. I think 14 is kind of forced here by Abraceit because Fine's not phenomenal there. Kingdans is very good here, so he might be able to pull off a hold against the double bears. Widdowson, though, he shouldn't be holding, I think. So yeah, all 4 players going for the big boy sends. The send coming out from Rampampan is that much bigger, of course, because they do have a pretty healthy worker lead, and their income amounts mean that their value is fairly similar, honestly, to the side of Abraceit, despite having that worker lead.
I could see Widder holding fairly well here. He adds a little doppel.
Oh, the
There's
doppel, yeah.
some much needed damage behind his very good tanks for the wave.
Yep. He's on value as well for Widdowson, right? He's 3k value. He could do pretty well. Now,
Yeah, he's got a little bit of a timing thing going on with this wave, though, as you know, he had the shurikens charged. They needed to do the damage, meaning that the infiltrators would get to the wave later. So if he had pulled the centaur off to the left there, obviously things would have been a lot worse.
mhm.
But he may have gotten that weird, funny little snipe. But you see here, he did just fine.
Yeah, he just holds, and quite comfortably. And Kingdans, by the way, he barely leaks as well. He's even able to cover a couple of creeps there from Widdowson, while Rampampam, they're actually losing quite a lot of King HP here. So not only do Kingdans and Widdowson stay in the game, they actually crawl their way back into it quite nicely. In fact, Jules is giving them the lead now.
Wow.
Crazy. This is...
The comeback kings. Coming back from Div 2. Coming back from a 20% King HP deficit last game. Coming back this game after what looked like a commanding position for Ported and Fine. My god.
Yeah,
Is there anything they can't come back from?
I'm actually still not concerned. We are now at 3 Wylets.
He just needs to pull the trigger, get that 4th one on the board, and it's all them again.
Oh, you know it's coming.
I mean, it's looking awfully even all of a sudden again. It's entirely going to come down to the next end by the looks of things.
It really is, and it's quite difficult to decide when to send against these players now. I mean, Kingdans has nothing for 18, but their Widdowson has the Orchids, and actually they're going for this 16 send on Abraceit. I wonder, will Pavided and Fine sniff it coming? I doubt it, though.
There's
Okay.
only one thing that matters here, and it is, do we put down the 4th Wylet?
Oh, we do.
That is a supercharged 4th
We
Wylet.
do.
We hold to actually GG. So
That's a
while
free
it was
hold.
a very smooth and sneaky decision from Kingdans and Widdowson to send on 16,
That-
five Wylets.
This is
A
crazy.
world first?
A world first. 5
Maybe.
Wylets. But Fine is decently undervalued there, minus 500. Pavided's minus 4. And the sends are quite large. 600 Mythium here for Pavided, 620 for Fine. Will either player be able to hold? One of them has to. Otherwise, it's just game over here. The Azeria is tanking perfectly there for Fine, so that's really, really good. You love to see that. Sovereign does go down now, so that will be a leak for Fine, and this will be a leak for Pavided. And Abraceit have done it again, guys. They've come back from the brink, not once, but twice so far today in this tournament. And Rampampam, they have to feel robbed, I'm sure, because this game felt like a sure thing for those guys, but Abraceit have turned it round once again. 1-0 lead. Kingdans and Widdowson. Can anybody stop this duo in their prime?
I'm absolutely disgusted.
Yeah?
I would have bet many dollars that Poeted held there and held for his mate. He also actually, like, so Fine had, in all seriousness, had the Sov reach full mana, get that full HP. Swift on 16 feels very good. Sov is, sorry, not Sov, the Disciple Starcaller is a shockingly good tank on 16, but unfortunately the Centaur never got targeted despite all of that delicious AoE damage. So I feel robbed. I'm very unhappy with the outcome here.
Yeah, and we have the Consort as well, which, as everyone knows, is the best unit in the game, and especially on wave 16s.
I feel you, Seto. I think Podded. I mean, it feels like he probably could have held with Scallywag spam there rather than the Violets, but he's obviously more scared of 17 than 16 there, and why wouldn't he be? If you look at Fine's board, he was looking pretty in trouble on 17 there, and it felt like they didn't really have a race win going in their favor with Wither and Dan's both looking much stronger there. So the Violets, he's thinking best of both worlds. They're not going to be too bad here, and they're going to be better on 17 than Scallywags. But yeah.
Yeah. And it looks like that one's inflicted some mental damage because Pavided still not back into the lobby yet. Maybe needs a bit of a breather after that one, and I cannot blame him, to be honest.
No.
All right, we do have lobby up now, so we should be able to get into game number 2 pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, this is another prime example of playing from behind there from Abra. I think they were on, what, 20% win probability at one point, and then that wave 14 into 16, 1-2 punch to come back from the brink. Just really, really impressive display here. So be interested to see if they 2-0 against Ram Pam Pam, or if Fine and Pavide can bring this one back to a tied series. We know they have it in them. Like I almost want to say they should have won game 1. They were really in the lead, and they had it snatched from them. So I know they have the ability to win.
King Dans and Witter can't keep getting away with this. That was absolutely disgusting. You're absolutely right. The game was all but decided in the early game there.
Yeah.
To back clutches from 20%. I mean, obviously the players don't know the the probabilities that we're seeing here, but they're more than good enough to know who's in the lead at any given point. And yeah, everyone in these games knows the nasty comeback that just occurred.
Yeah.
It's got to leave its mark. The German mental resilience is strong.
Absolutely. Well, let's see if the Polska Gorom can bring it back as we go into game number 2. Right. What do you think about this Legion spells this time around, Seto?
I love Sorcerer. I love Sorcerer so much because if you are a veteran of the game, you know what units excel. If you are not a veteran of the game, and please do not look at my match history from patch 11, you don't put Sorcerer on things like, say, Ocean Templar, right? Because that doesn't do anything for you, obviously.
But nobody would do such a thing, surely.
Nobody would do such a thing. Not looking at their role and having literally no other units that benefit from it. And then we have PTA, just classically good, even if you wanted to king up because you're in some position that says, you know, maybe I should do this. It's kind of acceptable to do that. And then Sacrifice. I love Sacrifice. It's one of my favorite spells.
Yep, completely
Speaking
agreed.
of units that make the most of the Sorcerer buff, we have yet another Elite Archer.
Absolute machine. He's got the Azeria as well, so choices there from King Schwanz. What do you think about the Masterminds, Nick Tier?
I mean, we've got, for the first time on stream today, 4 completely different Masterminds picked. This lock-in being picked in every single game of every series that we've seen is surprising to me. I didn't realize that this was as much of a favorite as it is. You know, you expect to see a good bit of Fiesta Cartel and the like, but the random lock-in is a favorite of everyone, it seems.
Yeah, absolutely. And King Dans did... I wasn't sure he would hold there because he did pull the snail into his archer, but it was an easy one there for him. In fact, people seem to quite like snailing Kingdans in this series, and every time we've seen it, it has not been successful. So I'm unsure about that one. Pennywise is unsure, but I don't know.
Swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss.
So, just to pull out the stat here, King Dan's does not play Fiesta. Does King Dan's have that risky one? Also, not really. Like, Gateguard is their closest at 8%, but it's still pretty kind of rare that they have the risky opener.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the play is.
In his 400 or 500 games of the season so far, he's not done a bit of Fiesta. I'm sure he's had a bit of everything. Although maybe not. I haven't looked at the stats.
Oh, this time though, Widdowson did go for the snail into Fine, which did cause a bit of a leak, but there was, crucially, no snail against Povided, who I think would have leaked pretty badly. Oh yeah, I like this. He's just able to easily hold and cause the longest wave in recorded human history, but all players are tied there on 6 workers, so no clear advantage either way. However, here we have the first brute of the game coming out from Kingdans, and Povided not looking fantastic here on wave 3, it has to be said. Awkward gold, really. 71 gold. Doesn't have great things to build for that.
No, this is looking pretty deadly.
Yeah. There's a full send here into Fine as well, who does drop the Necromata, so should be okay, I think. And yeah, the Robo's going to be on that Neko, so very good split tanking here. Although, if anything, you wish your Whirlybird was tanking a bit more, I think, to keep that Neko alive for longer, but needs must. And meanwhile, though, Povided is going for quite the leak here, 59%, including that Bada Brute. Fine, doing very, very well. Looks like he's going to leak only the Robo, but that will still be a Robo joining the Brute on the King. Ram Pam Pam about to lose a decent amount of King HP here on wave 3.
A little bit devastating. Everyone benefited, thankfully, from that long wave of workers on 2. However, we are seeing already some repercussions on 3 here, as Widdowson's able to pull ahead there with the 8, and then also getting the leak gold from their opponents. So probably a pretty big slingshot starting to be pulled back here.
Yep.
I think what you're seeing here is some very high IQ play from Fine and Podid. They've said, we've studied our opponents. We know that the trick to winning these Nova games is to be the first one to take damage on your king. Put them into a false sense of security and go from there.
Yeah, the one thing you don't want to do is to be ahead against Kingdans and Widdowson, because they're just guaranteed
Exactly.
they're guaranteed to win from that position, right? So now, sure, they're also guaranteed to win when they're in the lead. Pick your poison, right? All right,
So,
Fine and Povided. Go ahead, Seto.
Yeah, no. Let's look at the Mythium counts here for Fine and Povided. We are absolutely stacking bricks, and I mean, if we're thinking about when do we want to use those bricks, Wave 6 looks pretty juicy already.
Yeah, Wave 6 looks like a bit of a banger there. Widdowson's build in particular, confirmed not good on 6, although he is shifting 91 gold here. No, okay, he built another Atom.
I mean, as you well know, Atoms do not have a weak wave.
True.
So they're as strong as anything else on 6,
Yeah.
but nothing astonishing, yeah.
True, actually. Povided, he's got 160 bricks already, so he could go for that Mimic on 6, should he desire. Fine is pro-leaking here, which is really, really important when they're stockpiling quite so many bricks. Wait, is this ever, like, Ogre territory from Povided? No, I think he just clears too fast in the mid. There's the Imp Brute coming out from Fine. And there's the Mimic Snail coming out from Povided, who will be able to add another snail to go with that deadly send. Widdowson going for a full send of his own, though, with a Brute into Fine, who will leak here, I'm pretty certain. but of course Povided will be able to hold, so no king damage there. But meanwhile, Abracea, they are under a lot of pressure here. They need to be able to hold these massive sends. If anything, Kingdans might do okay with this Slime Mummy.
Yeah, he was definitely having a bit of trouble deliberating exactly where he wanted it. Replaced a couple of times there. It's a very good unit on this wave. Seems like even
Does
even when it's
easily
split,
reach
you know?
full mana, by the way, so he will get the maximum value from the Slime Mother. Widdowson, though, he's kind of getting run over. 75% leak there, 18 gold on the Mimic. Fine did extremely well against his Brutes End, leaking just 32. And Kingdans, that's a 56 leak from him, despite Slime Mother getting full mana as well. So there will be a counter punch here on wave 6 from Rampampam. Looks like they're going to be able to even up the King HP and then some.
And it's a nice
Yeah.
long wave with both fine and ported on 12 workers right now.
Yeah.
They're loving this.
But oh
I-
no,
I-
guys. Do you see what they've done here? They've taken the lead against Abracea, and that means it's over. It's donezo.
And that's a part of the theory crafting, though. This is the first time today that we get to see King Dan's ahead and and Witterson, but then we get to see what happens when they then fall behind. So, any guesses?
Really surprised to see them resend here with income and not just go for, a 1-2 punch on 9 or something, because King and Witter are not looking terribly strong there right now. And it feels like you take the pressure straight off when you follow up your damaging send with income like this. It seems like that's what's happened and what's lost after putting yourself in the lead in the last 3 games we've witnessed against these guys.
And that's true. They have relieved pressure here for sure. It might be a sign that they just want to go longer. Take that income now here on 7 and then go, I don't know, all the way to 11 or something crazy. But we'll have to see what Fine and Povided opt to do, because they have, as you say, completely given away the pressure advantage to Abracea, and that is not a position you want to find yourself in, I think.
While they've given away some of the pressure, I think, interestingly, King Dan's here still didn't do anything to protect their 9 as they put down another elite archer.
Both doubling down on this wave even after having the pressure relief last wave. That's interesting. So they have both just said, 9. It's been nerfed. That's what Seto said. We don't need to worry about 9.
9 can't hurt you.
It's literally no threat.
Is 9 in the room with us right now?
I'm blinking.
Well, they correctly read it, though, because there is a full Batter Brute send here coming out from both Widdowson and Kingdans. Again, this is the nerfed Brute, so Mass Brute not as overbearing as it has been on previous patches. We'll have to see, because Povided, I mean, they're on value, just minus 50 here. Not phenomenal on 9, it has to be said, with the Fire Archers and a lot of Swift/Arcane units. But Fine is pretty strong, honestly. Good tank value, the canopy is really good DPS on the wave. We'll have to see. Or even like
Even with
perfect
Toiler's
splits.
sniping.
Yeah. Oh,
Even with
one brute
sniping, it's
instantly
fantastic
down.
damage on the wave as long as it doesn't get
Second
sniped.
brute instantly down. This is very, very nice mercenary pick off here from Fine, and it looks like he's going to do more than Fine, it seems. However, Povided, the closer of the players to value by 5, is going for a bit of a leak. Again, not a huge one, honestly. Very, very good performance there from Povided, but just a full hold here from Fine against the 260 Mythium send. This should put Rampampam in a very good spot.
Although only one brute matters, all of them got sniped on Fine's side here, and I think that's kind of really telling. So much so that Fine and Povided still feel okay with sending just more income, just enhancing that lead.
Well, they're once again in a massive lead, which is a bit of deja vu calling back to game number 1, where by around wave 10 I was convinced they'd already won the game, and we all know what happened there in game number 1, so let's not let's not rule out Abracea just yet.
I've done a really good job of caster cursing Fine and Povided, and I figure why stop now?
Yeah. They've once again gone for Income King here, so just wanting to really cement their economic lead, it seems.
Seeing all that we do, and considering the spells, I mean, we already knew that Dan's was going to go Sork here, but what do we see from Fine and Poeted? Do we see a PTA? Probably not, right? Like, we've already spent all of our Mythium.
Yeah, unless they just want to, like, PTA King up, but I think probably they're most likely to go for, like, Sacrifice, because looking at these two boards, Wave 12 seems very obvious to me.
Yeah.
So they want to
both
try and play
players have-
defensively against that. Yeah, exactly. So like this
Easy-
unit can be
easy target.
sacrificed, this unit can be sacrificed, and all of a sudden you can turn a terrible Wave 12 build into a slightly less terrible one. And yeah, they do both take the sacrifice, while Kingdans and Widdowson both take that PTA. So I think it's going to come down to a big Wave 12.
Would you guys say that this is the last shot for King Dans and Wooderson to like find a foothold in this game if they send here on 12 and get very little out of it?
It certainly feels like that. This is the place where they are now in the Hail Mary position. But having said that, they've been out of at least 2 of the games we've seen so far today, and then come back to win it. So I don't know. Let's just see what happens. But this leak here from Widdowson is absolutely perfect. They're leaking 3 creeps against no send, a lot of extra time for this big counter punch to come out from the side of Abrasiat, and we'll have to see if it is successful. Yeah, the sends are massive.
Wooderson and King Dans here are basically even workers to Fine and Poeted, and they haven't been sent Fine and Poeted in a couple waves here. So if things don't go well, how far can Fine and Poeted push the worker from equal to a supreme advantage after this?
Oh, I mean, look at their values. So Fine and Vida are basically already on wave 13 value, so they can full push here, they can full push after income as well. But they have to do well here first, right? Now, we did see those sacrifices, the Canopy and the Sovereign, both the units that we expected, so casters actually right for once, which is refreshing. But, oh, what's this? No! Fine's little Goblin Copter here, that 20 gold unit just destroyed his hold potential by wiping out both of his ranged crab-based units. And as a result, that's 120% leak for Fine, 111 for Forbidden, and you have to think their poor positioning on the side of Fine, is it really going to be that comes and loses yet another game?
Very close too.
Very, very close to it. They're right back in the lead now for the side of Abrasiat, and Fine is going to be absolutely kicking himself about this Goblin Copter here. And he instantly sells it, which is obviously the right decision, but it's too little too late. He needed to do that on the prior wave.
I'm absolutely disgusted once again. I made a joke about caster cursing it, but come on, stop hurting me like this.
Yeah, I mean, King Dans and Widdowson are now just in an insane lead. Let's just check out the gold gained from leaks. King Dans and Widdowson both have 430 gold gained from leaks. Now, I think the recent patch had something to do with like balancing gold gain after wave 10, and it seems that King Dans and Widdowson are 100% making the most of this, both sides. So they don't care much about leaking early, they'd rather just push workers, and they do care a lot about undercutting in the mid to late game. And that seems to be why they're so successful here in this series. And here comes the wave 14 killer blow. Will Fine and Pavida be able to survive this? I'm not sure. Now, Fine is going to be on value, but his build looks horrendous on 14. And Pavida, I mean, also on value, but again, also pretty bad on wave 14. So they're going to need a bit of a miracle, I think, to survive this wave 14.
Fine managed to escape the early game with his reroll, if I recall correctly. This game, it looked good, and then he just has no late game carries here. He has nothing that's going to get him to wave 24.
Yeah. Well, before Wave 24, he needs to survive Wave 14, and that is by far not a given. We've got 440 for Fine, 560 for Pavida. There's big sends against Abrasiat as well, but I don't think they're in danger of dying here. So let's keep eyes on Fine and Pavida. And Fine does at least kill the pack leader early, so that's something going in his favour, but he's honestly not killing very much else. King Dans gives a shutdown, but it doesn't matter, because here's Fine with a 78% leak, Pavida with the 88% leak, and Abrasiat, they have done it again. This is the third massive comeback victory in a row, and it is the second 2-0 series victory for the side of Abrasiat. So these guys seem to be absolutely unstoppable here in the February Nova Cup. That's 4 games played, 4 clean wins. Well, I say clean wins because 3 of them were very messy comeback wins, actually. But 4 very impressive wins, let's put it that way, from King Dans and Widdowson. These guys are back in style, it seems. What do you think, guys?
I mean, I am absolutely flabbergasted. I really thought this was finally the one, you know. but every game we see these guys fall into a pretty steep deficit,
Yeah.
and every single time they come back. And the balls on King Dans to push full into that 14 send there, correctly identifying that Pordid had the best chances
Yeah.
for Rempapam of holding there, and believing in Widder's casket gates to delay the longest, because it's not like they were completely out of trouble, you know. They could easily have lost on 14 had they lost a race there, but yeah, just huge big brain plays.
I mean, it all comes down to that 12, right? And this is something that I basically never do on the cast, which is hop into sandbox, but I think this is actually worth it. So guys, take a look at this. So
All right.
this little goblin copter right here is what caused all of the pain for Fine. Now I don't expect him to hold here, but let's just sell that. So he has 12 less value than he did in game. In game, this was a 120% leak. Let's see how it does with minus 20 value. Well, for starters, his crabs are going to survive at least a little bit longer. Will they get an extra summon out? They will. Wow, look at that. The Coiler's tanking very, very nicely up here. Pack leader doesn't die. And actually, it's worse. Okay, it's 128% leak instead of 120. So there's a reason, okay, why I don't do this on stream, because it makes me look like even more of an idiot than I usually do.
So Fine
it's a
was
tricky
actually
one.
giga-brained.
Because if you don't have that ranged unit in the split, your serpents can easily get, you know, wrapped onto from half the wave. So I don't know how awkward his gold is on 12. Maybe he just couldn't even replace it a little bit higher to get the best of both worlds. But
I think it's just a case of Crab Warlocks just not being it on wave 12.
Yeah.
You know, like the crab is a tank, but as soon as it dies, his coilers die, and that's his only damage on the wave. So yeah. I don't know, maybe just like buckler spam or something was his best play. But whatever it was, Abrasiat, they just cannot be stopped. They are 4-0. They are guaranteed a spot in tomorrow's semi-final. And do we know from the other group? I'm not sure if we know who their counterpart is, but I have been checking out Adams and Aviators games as well, and they have won their series 2-0 as well, which means we're going to have to hop into another 10-minute break, and when we come back, we will get to see Fine and Pavided going up against Adams and Aviator in that last chance match, so that's going to be a very exciting one. But, I mean, it really is the Abrasiat show here on day one so far, guys. They have pulled off some insane comeback victories. Terrifying team. Any thoughts from you guys on those games before we go on to a break?
Yeah, tomorrow I can't wait to see what these underdogs can do. I mean, from 0 to hero, from Div 2 to Div 1, can they actually claim both Nova Cup victories?
the dream. I mean, I could not have hoped for better games to cast on my return to this Nova casting panel.
No,
This has been incredibly entertaining so far.
these have been absolute bangers. Some real upsets, and King Dans and Witterson, they're playing to the patch. You know, they care not about leaking early. They care not about King HP, and then they just destroy their opponents with like surgical sends in the mid to late game. It's really cool to see. On that note, guys, I think we're going to have a bit of a break, so don't go anywhere. We'll have say 10 minutes before the last chance match, and once again I will leave you with some very joyful Calypso music courtesy of the co-caster Nick Tier, and this is Someone Like Jules. Enjoy.
Man, like, do
All right, guys, welcome back, and wow, what an impressive show it was from Kingdowns and Widdowson so far today. Unfortunately, we don't get to see any more of that gameplay though, because those guys have already made it through to the semi-finals tomorrow. However, we have got the last chance match ahead of us to still enjoy, and that will be played between a Damiator, that's of course the Dams, and Aviator, against Rampampam, Fine and Pavided. Fine and Pavided, who we have just seen lose two very demotivating games, which looked like wins against Abracete. I think they were 80% favoured in both of those games at one point, and still managed to lose both. So they're probably not feeling too great after that defeat. Hopefully the moral kind of side of things hasn't dropped too low and they can still perform at their peak. It is worth saying that this matchup is the same as the first round matchup where Rampampam won 2-0 against Adamiator. So, probably not feeling too great after the losses to Abracete, but they did 2-0 this same team in their first round of games. So, we'll have to see which way this one goes. All four fantastic players, by the way. I think it's worth saying that everyone that we've seen so far in the Cup is like a big name in the Legion community, right? We've had Kingdowns, Widdowson, Fine, Pavided, Adams, Aviator. What was the other opponent? Oh, Johnny C and Sagittarius, of course. So everyone that we've seen so far today, like really well-known, respected member of the community. And I think this might be one of the most stacked Nova Cups that we've seen in terms of, all the big dogs in one place. Really cool to see, really exciting games, and I just can't wait to see what Rampampam and Adamiator have in store for us yet to come. What do you think, guys?
I mean, you've said it all. We'll just have to see how strong the mental is after losing in that fashion to Kingdowns and Widow there. But I mean, like you say, it's a very stacked. Nova feels like we've had stacked Novas for some time now. We've got just so many good players in the community now. I mean, the first Nova of the year, we had a final with people who haven't been in the finals for a while, feels like. Certainly not together, I don't think, Ashton and Inderhall. So yeah, it's kind of returning to normality almost with some of these big names who were dominating.
Yeah, completely agreed.
I'm very excited to see all of these literal legends in the same lobby, facing off using the biggest of brains. And what is actually wonderful about both of these teams is they're both known brick stockpilers. And so I'm very excited to see who's willing to start loading their guns first and holding off before pulling the trigger and getting in that big punch. I think that we are going to see some insane play early, at least in this first game here, when we're testing the waters, to see how far we can go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're completely right. Like Aviator wants to save Mythium. It's kind of his thing. He's known for it. So we'll have to see. And in terms of predictions, I'm going to say Chaos from Adams in game number 1. He is numero uno Chaos abuser, but I think he plays a pretty mean redraw as well, because obviously that's just Chaos Light. I really can't call it either way between these two teams. I mean, Rampampam played phenomenally well in the series against Abracete, and it still wasn't enough. But I think I'm going to call it in favour of Rampampam just on the basis that they won the first series against these guys, and despite losing to Abracete, they played both of those games extremely well. So I think they're in a pretty good place right now. And well, maybe that's unfair because I haven't actually seen Adamiator play today. It can definitely go either way.
We know they lost 0-2, but that does not tell the whole story, does it? You don't know how those games went if we weren't watching. So, I mean, I believe in my man Aviator. He does like to save Mythium. He is a member of the best guild in the game. So, I'm rooting for Avi here.
Yeah, I mean that's important, right? The guild affiliation is what it's all about in this game. We all know. Everyone's on there for guild wars religiously on Saturday and Sunday, making sure you farm the points, the guild points. Um,
The clout.
the clout, yeah, very, very important. Okay, guys, this last chance match is about to begin. We've got Ram Pam Pam on the left, we've got a Damiator on the right. Oh, but wait, is it real Aviator? Or is it Irish
So-
Aviator?
I don't know when Aviator became Irish, but when Irish Aviator became Aviator, he was already Irish. And so there's something happening, and I can't put my finger on what it is.
I am Gnota Gnoa, if it's Aviator or not. I don't.
This is Aviator. He went.
This
He went.
is
He turned
Aviator.
Irish,
Yes.
and then is it E1 renamed to Irish Aviator?
No.
I am
Could it be?
completely out of the loop.
No.
I think it. I think it is. I
no.
think it's E1.
No. E1 is not my friend, though.
But you're friends with Irish Aviator.
I was friends with Irish Aviator, and I have not seen Irish Aviator since someone became their own self again.
Huh.
What is happening?
We have a real mystery on our hands, folks.
Poor E1 though. What did he ever do to not be your friend? That's quite mean, Seto, I have to say. But regardless, I think it is
not
the real.
him, it's me.
I think it is the real Aviator, despite his Irish flag. I don't think that real Aviator is starting with 2 anglers and 3 seedlings, but I could be mistaken.
Not quite a rocket ship.
It's placing before the reroll to see which of these units you want to keep. Do you want to keep some seedlings and find a casket? He's now rerolled into steed, so maybe he wants to keep his angler. He's keeping his options open.
I
Big
see.
brain.
Very interesting.
He has gone for that redraw, whilst Adams has actually opted to not play either of the chaos options, and he's gone for just greed, just straight up.
That's
Or
crazy,
not
bro.
Greed.
Meanwhile, we have Lock-in Random again from Fine with a very nice Neko Atom opener. I really like that pairing. And trademark Cartel here from Pavided, which is his signature mastermind, I think it's fair to say. So,
So AV did go back for the bounty. Got
Oh,
rid of
wow.
all his stealing trash. Like I say, he found the steed, so maybe that's one of the reasons he's decided to keep this.
Bounty Hunter opener is something that we haven't seen very much of at all lately. Obviously now anglers gain, double mana if you keep them unupgraded. It feels like you're just losing out on so much potential stack economy from going wave 1 Bounty Hunter, right? But that said, he probably just felt he didn't really have any other options and decided to go for a more stable early game at the expense of those double stacks.
Trying to pull up some opening bounty hunter stats, and you're not going to believe this. There's not a whole lot of information.
No, I'm not really surprised about that at all, actually. So let's see. Fine should easily be able to go to 6 workers. He does, as does Povided with his Whirlybird and Gargoyle. Very, very strong opener on 3, of course. Aviator even deciding to add the Polywog here on wave 2. That surprises me.
And to think we could have seen a 2022 patented Pennywise Angler Seraphim Open here.
That would have been an absolute juicer, you're correct.
Crazy no one builds that anymore. I say anymore, not like that many people used to use that open, but
Yeah, only income coming out from all of the players though. Adam's the one player stockpiling his bricks, but we shouldn't expect to see any leaks here. The Oathbreaker does go down quite quickly in Adam's lane, but it injured enough of the Froggos that he can still hold regardless. And meanwhile, with this Steed addition here from Fine, he is finally starting to generate some manga on his Bounty Hunter.
So, very excitingly here for Aviator, he's been sent every wave pretty much and holding very nicely. He's under no real threat or pressure, which when you're playing this very, very greedy bounty hunter type role, you do not want to have any kind of pressure on you for fear of a big leak, especially on 4, 6, 7.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're seeing very, very, very fast waves so far, which could turn out to be not so great for Podded, being the only cartel player in the game, with everyone on even workers. If this carries on and everyone stays fairly even, I mean, the longer that goes on for with the quick waves in the early game, the worse it is.
Fish?
And as I say that, they both push to 8 workers on the side of
It's
Ram Bam Bam. So
trying to find a way to say that nicely without cursing them.
curse away, Seto.
No, I don't want to do it again.
By the way, Nicked here, we have some of your fans in the Twitch chat wondering where they can get a hold of someone like Jules. So, proving popular already. I assume you haven't yet placed that on your YouTube, but it will be available at some point, I'm sure.
It surely will. I'll pop it up there after these games.
Pog!
So stay here, get your drops. You can find all of my terrible meme music over there on YouTube afterwards.
Banger. Okay, so that Bounty Hunter is starting to stack up decently, but actually it's only just at the point where an Angler would have been max mana now on wave 5.
Yeah, I mean, this cannot be the way to play Bounty Hunter anymore.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's worse than ever needs to start with, and then to open it and have this slow mana production. Yeah.
It doesn't feel correct, but it's still Aviator, you know, so we'll have to see what he can do with it. And okay, just Income Sends coming out here on wave 6, nobody going for Battle Brutes or anything like that.
Now, assuming this is Aviator, they've re-rolled a hole 2 times and managed to land on their egg. How long do they actually sit on this roll before considering maybe this time isn't the egg time?
Yeah, I don't know. It is Aviator though, so I think he tends to have egg in every single game that he's ever played. Wow, actually fine leaking 68% to the Income Send. That is not something I expected. Although now that I look at his board and see 3 Nekamatas, I can maybe understand why.
Yeah, that's not nice at all. Just shy, really.
Oh, yeah, Aviator does hold though against the Income Send of his own, but only barely. And it looks like we're even going to get a little bit of king damage here on wave 6 against the side of Ram Bam Bam. Not too much, but still, first blood has now been drawn.
More Income Sends out of Aviator and Adam's kind of just making a liar out of me. Actually, everyone making a liar out of me. I said we were going to have someone pull the trigger nice and early, start loading that gun early, and here we go. We are looking at nice, healthy incomes with somewhat good worker counts. I'm not sure what's happening here.
Yeah,
Handshake Gaming, I believe.
it is good old Handshake Gaming. We're back to 2024, it seems, with this meta. A lot of Income Sends. But having said that, the worker counts are also not very high, honestly. The biggest worker number in the game is 11, and we saw Widdowson had like 13, 14 on wave 7 in a prior game.
Also interested to see Fine opting for the same Widdowson strat of build as many cats as you can.
Yeah,
I don't think I've built 3 cats in one game this early in a very long time.
yeah, not ideal. And if you're looking at Fine's board, I'm already thinking 9, right? And it's not like Pavide's looking much better there either.
I mean, it certainly looks like a juicy place to send. If Aviator would finally like to save
Nope.
some Mythium, but he doesn't.
He doesn't. It is the longest wave in recorded human history, of course, with the Slime Mummy. And everyone is once again shaking hands, going for the Income Sends. Shadowwings turning in his grave at the sight.
What happened to Shadow Penny?
He's just not a big fan of Handshake Gaming.
All right, so we do see another hunt here out of Aviator. This time, not a surprise, since we at least have the Kingpin going to protect us here on wave 8. Not that we were that afraid.
No, indeed. In fact, me big fish. So Aviator should easily be able to hold here, and he's found some other uses for his mana there with the Halo to help him hold on 10 and 13, where the Kingpin is otherwise weak. But not too much to write home about so far because... Oh, actually though, Adam's only sent 2 snails. He does have some bricks left over. And it looks like he's going to go for a very, very slow Pro League here.
Yep, doing exactly what he wants for a big potential 9, which we did say we were concerned about. We do see Fine sitting on cats. However, they do also have the Tree of Knowledge to maybe get a nice little pop-off, presuming that there is going to eventually be some tank value in front of it instead of just tanking Wave 9 straight away.
Well, that's a Mimic Brute send coming out from Adams, and he will be able to get another Robo or so. I'm not sure he gets another Brute. But it's going to be a big send, so 260 Mythium coming into Fine's lane. He is on value, more or less, with 1100 plus. Pavided, of course, he's going to be completely fine, only receiving income while also being on very healthy value. And just more income once again from both Fine and Pavided. So Adamiator, they're both holding. Let's keep eyes on Fine's lane, the only player receiving what I think is the only real send of the entire game.
Be ridiculous. There's a Brute sitting in Pavided's lane.
And while he is on value, Fine did build for 10, where he also wasn't looking the strongest, so he did not, in fact, protect his Boom Tree, which ended up popping very, very early.
Yeah, the Boom Tree did very little AoE damage, actually. The one silver lining is that the Mimic did absolutely nothing there for Adams. Only 8 gold farmed by that Battle Boyo. Might be able to pick up a little bit more in the mid. Oh, there's 4. Only the 2, maybe? Yeah, okay.
I mean, these Hellions are really hard to chew.
Yeah, they are very, very tanky indeed. More income once again from Adamiator, and everybody just in a very, very good economic position. I'm surprised, honestly, that the worker counts are relatively low, given that it has just been basically income king every single wave.
Yeah, we have the potential for a Snipe later Sea Serpent on Aviator. I'm constantly checking out. They've re-rolled already 5 times, so they've spent. It is not listed here, unfortunately. So they've only spent probably about 10 gold on reroll so far, which is insane value. But just what they're getting out of it is a lot of really fancy niche units. Like the steeds are fun, they have uses. The serpents are fun, they get to sit in the back of the lane and think about doing things from time to time.
Okay, the second time this game we get to see some action here with Pavided going for a full send into Monsieur Adams, who is decently undervalued and not great here, it has to be said. Does go for the Magician. Obviously that's a good pickup there for Adams. Aviator just receiving income send is probably a blessing for them, because could probably have leaked decently against like a 4 Eyes or something, though I'm not sure Fine had that before income.
It feels interesting to hunt this rat and not protect your most forward Lord of Death here, but he is the only one getting income, so maybe safe enough here.
Yeah, Lord of Death very strong, especially when it's sitting behind 2 good tanks like the Lioness and the Kingpin, so I can kind of see it. But meanwhile, his teammate is going for a bit of a leak here with Adams, and it is going to be how much? 56%. Okay, not terrible, honestly, given that Adams wasn't looking great here. This was a double overwork pickup from Fine and Pavided, so the long wave is quite beneficial for them. But Aviator and Adams have 2 very, very strong Legion spells. Now, the Pawn Shop, I think, is phenomenal with Chaos Light, just as it is with Chaos Heavy. And the Magician, of course, very, very good for Adams' Disciple Circle.
Avi uses his 7th reroll to grab that egg right on time.
Perfect, yeah. Receive a send, re-roll the egg. This is why redraw looks so good in Aviator's hands, because whenever he presses the button, he just gets the perfect unit instantly.
I mean, he has Adams on his team, so I'm sure he's being coached. You
True.
know? Adams will say, okay, reroll now, and he gets the egg. That's the Adams effect.
Nice luck.
I'm not sure if we could ever get a redraw type emote like we do for the chaos, but sometimes it definitely feels that way. And then other times you reroll 44 times on wave 6 and get nothing. So
Couldn't possibly be me.
I feel like I'm speaking a lot from experience today when I'd really rather not. But what can you do?
Well, that's why we're casting and not playing Seto. It's safe over here.
Not only did Aviator prove us wrong in the early game by never wanting to save his Mythium, but he's just keeping it rolling.
Yeah, his income is looking very healthy. He also knows that he's got a wave 24 roll because he's got money. So there is no stopping him at this point. Egg is
Yeah.
going to get fully off here too.
Just taking more and more income as well, but this will enable Pavida to push some workies if he so chooses. Oh, a
Finally, a
real
nice send
send.
the series. Yes.
That's crazy, bro. But still, more income from Aviator, just really wanting to go for the late game with his redraw pawn shop lineup, which is, to be fair, quite good.
It's really quite good. Fine sitting at the 16 workers, getting sent the pack leader and the centaur, not feeling super great. Like, they're kind of on value, but also there's a snail. So, who knows what that snail can do.
Yep. Now, Fine is on decent value, honestly, with not a terrible build for 14 with those Nekos, the Leviathans for damage. So let's see how he does. It's still a pretty large send there, 620 Mythium. Doing pretty well, it has to be said. Cleared up the entire left side, the pack leader is dead as well, but it looks like that's about all that he can manage. This will be a 104% leak for Fine. Luckily, Pavida just receiving the income is going to easily be able to cover this, it looks like.
Yeah, but we did sitting on those 32 workers. Thankfully, Aviator only managing to get off 240 here with a pretty serious bazooka send as well as a couple king ups. So there was a chance, is what I'm saying.
Look at the worker count on Pavida though. So sure, Aviator's been catapulting his income into a really strong spot, but as a result, Pavida has 32.5 workers. He's generating a rather large amount of bricks in his stockpile, ready to drop them right on the head of Adams.
Aviator here at some point, I'm assuming post 10, lost their steed, so not getting that benefit anymore from the little bit of extra mana that they would have had. They are hunting here and getting some nice white mane value on this super buffed Green Devil, but we're building really far back. Our value is starting to get a little bit sus as we stare down the barrel of 30 workers to roughly 20 on average for the other side.
And I guess, yeah, okay, so here comes the big wave 16 send. Oh no! Oh, fine. The, how much HP? 360 hit points left on that big quadrupus. Whatever one of those is. Which is a 67% leak there for Fine, and a lot of gold going in favour of Adams just before the big send.
At least there was no shutdown.
Sure, it's a very long wave, but that's a really big amount of gold for Adams to try and hold this send. And remember, they're going to have like Max King as well, I'm pretty certain. Aviator is basically on value. Adams is a little bit further away, but still, they have a full king. They're also going for full sends of their own. So not only do Fine and Pavida have to get a lot of damage done here if they want to be in any kind of position, but they also have to hold their own waves, which is far from a given here, despite receiving much, much smaller sends. But let's keep eyes on Aviator and Adams. They receive absolutely massive amounts of Mythium here on wave 16. Will either player be able to hold? I mean, certainly Aviator has destroyed that entire left-hand side of the wave. The Kraken now goes down. He's looking phenomenally strong here on 16. Meanwhile, Fine leaks 83% to the baby send. Adams, that's 104%, but Aviator makes it look easy here on 16, holding with value left to spare. How are you doing, Pavided? Well, but not well enough. It seems that will be a leak, and this was their all-in-play here from Rampampam. They stockpiled bricks for so long, but the income was just overpowering there for Aviator and Adams. Clutch hold from Aviator, and actually more damage dealt on the side of Rampampam.
I don't understand this game. I don't get it. How can the one auto sending be the one? Jules,
Jules?
please.
See, the thing they do have going for them at least is that they do have the right Sui angle with Fine into AV. I mean, trying to find something that's in their favor right now, and that's exactly what they're doing. Fine he's pushing that worker button right now.
He's pushing the button. I guess they have to go 18. Yeah, but look at this. Aviator and Adams are not going to be caught unprepared. They're both they both have 9. Oh wait, Aviator maybe is going to be caught unprepared.
Well, he might be, but I mean, he's going to see this Sui and he has the option to pawn those eggs. So, kind of bailed out yet again by his redraw pawn.
Yeah.
Combo, should he wish to use it.
True. I mean, they can see Fine's value here, so he may well decide to go for that pawn shop. In fact, he very clearly should.
Yeah.
Because here we have Fine leaking most of the ways to no send. So the send comes out. We've got Kraken from Fine, we've got Imps and Pack from Pavided. Aviator and Adams, will they go for the send of their own? They will, it's just income, that's all they need to do, that's very fine. And actually Aviator just sending a single snail, so maybe going to save the rest of his bricks for a kill on a later wave, I'm not sure.
Interestingly, as the one getting saved or suied into to just send a snail, yeah, didn't click any other button. Very brave here from Aviator. I am absolutely in awe of the way that they play this game. They're not even selling their eggs yet.
Yeah, I feel like he probably should.
I imagine he will. He'll keep us waiting. Add to the drama, you know.
Now we have Adams with the double
I'm
Azeria.
old. My APM can't do what a young kid's could, so I would have sold those eggs already. There's only 7 seconds left, guys. Holy mackerel.
He does not.
What a beast!
Not only does he not pawn them,
Uh-oh.
he sends the one snail. He's just full of all the Giga Chad maneuvers.
Oh my god.
Has Aviator found the only way to lose this game, or is his build just way too strong on wave 18? Fine leaks 121% against the income, of course. His eggs do at least tank, but that won't be a hold. However, Adams against the 960 Mythium makes it look easy, and never in doubt, of course. So Aviator, you did manage to save that 27 gold here by not selling your eggs, giving 100 gold shutdown. And interesting, by the way, that he only sent the single snail, because they probably could have just won here as well with a full send.
Well, the drama was hyped up by all of us.
They were just too far ahead. Adams was able to not just hold his own lane, but fully cover in the mid as well, so there was 0 king damage dealt. Fine and Pavida, they're going for another Hail Mary here on 19, but surely Adams and Aviator are just going to spend their gold and be completely unleakable.
Surely indeed.
Huge misplay by Aviator here, not sending 2 snails. I'm pretty sure that's the correct etiquette in this scenario.
I love this Giga Chad Green Devil here. White Mane buff, Ocean Templar buff, Lost Chieftain buff. It'll never die.
Yeah, it's pretty pog actually. So it's
Literally
1,000 Mythium
cannot.
resend, but actually the thing looks like it might be dying pretty
What?
pretty quickly. I'm surprised by how fast that went down, but it is going to be unkillable on 20. Yeah, Adams very, very easily holding indeed, and Aviator I'm sure will do the same. Now surely they're just going to pull the trigger and end the misery of Rem Pam Pam here. Yeah, okay. We get the Shaman coming out from Adams and Aviator, so they do hope to just end the game here on wave 20. This is the longest game we've seen so far on the stream, by the way.
Also, the longest game of my life. My goodness, I didn't know how to actually handle seeing Wave 18 play out that way. We had the easy out button for Aviator, and for him to actually still hold on to those eggs, I don't know if it's out of hubris or pride or what may have driven him to do so, but my awe is simply in shock.
Your awe
it's
has
just for
been
the fact
struck, you could say.
You could say that.
Yeah. But now Aviator's plus 165, Adams is plus 1,000. Of course, he doesn't need to push any workers to break fine. And here comes the killer blow from Adamiator. Ram Pam Pam in desperate need of a miracle here. If any is to be found, it could well be Pavida's Chieftains buffing a very large Green Devil, known for its girth on wave 20.
Indeed, what a large boy. The Needler, thankfully, not even on it until, well, pretty much as it was going down. Of course, the Needler would have done some work, but the Maccabeus here just absolutely chewing through the rest of the wave now that the Green Devil is dead, and I think that's going to be that. 3% from
Yeah,
Jules
that's
is
gotta be it.
all you need.
There's no way they survive this against 2 big thick Maccas, right?
Wave 20 kind of exists now, so yes, I believe it's over.
Oh, that king dies very quickly. Okay. Yee. Well, Adamiator come out swinging here in game number 1, snatching a very decisive 1-0 lead over Ram Pam Pam. And what a roller coaster. If you look at the win probability, it's very, very up and down here in game number 1. But what do you think, guys? Like, what do Ram Pam Pam need to do differently as we go into game number 2?
They need to make their saving work. I think that's been one of the most frustrating things is every time they go for that mid or late game save, it just keeps not amounting to enough. We do not tilt the scales in any kind of way. In fact, we like take all of our coins off the scale suddenly.
Yeah. Yeah, fair enough. And it was also by far the most kind of income early game that we've had all day, right? There was
Absolutely.
a lot of income king throughout the early game from both teams. I guess they both thought they were the strongest in the late game, but it turns out only Adamiator were the strongest in the late game. And with that redraw pawn shop combo, Aviator could just scale to the absolute moon. One unforced error there with the eggs, but it ultimately did not matter in the slightest. Able to very comfortably close out the game there on wave 20 regardless. So yeah, I'd probably like to see a little bit more proactive gameplay in the early from both teams. But especially from Rem Pam Pam, I think, because that's maybe more their style to try and make things happen early on, where Adamiator, especially when they're abusing the kind of chaos redraw style masterminds, will be very, very comfortable to go to the mid and late game and just try to outscout you.
I mean, you got to wonder if this is at all to do with the last series and having them play their normal style and losing in the fashion they did. You know, did they feel like coming into this they wanted to change it up and play in a completely different way, a little bit of handshake gaming and try and scale, and it it didn't look too comfortable for them.
Yeah,
That's actually a really good point. When you do come in, you have a play style, you're known for it, and then get completely, not even, I'm going to say smashed, but like outplayed in the way that you do. It's going to be a little bit of a mental boom, in a sense, to try and just put yourself back into a strategic position to win.
yeah, no, absolutely. Especially because this is 3 games in a row now. They had the 2 devastating losses against Abrasier where they were in the lead both times and lost both times, and to now lose the 3rd game against Adamiator, you just have to be in. You're feeling the pressure, right? And they cannot lose another game now because it's 1-0 for Adamiator. And remember, this is the last chance match, guys. So whoever loses here is out of the tournament. There is no second chance after this. So they've got to be feeling the pressure, and it's very, very difficult to overcome that in the moment. So, they're definitely capable players. They can certainly bring this one back. But the odds are a little bit stacked against them now. And I'm starting to feel a bit worried for Fine and Pavidad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's obviously a lot of variables in these games between mastermind spells, roles, what have you. And when you've got as stacked games, lobbies as these, every little thing can make a big difference, including your mental,
Yep. Yeah.
your mental state going in. So,
well, including, I would say,
they can do that.
especially the mental state, right? It's very, very difficult.
Yeah.
Oh, but guys, something spicy to talk about here in game number 2. Let me just switch the scenes here, because we see Aviator picking the Fiesta mastermind. Now, I don't know if any of you noticed, but Adam's tagline, "If you Fiesta with me, you lose." Is this prophetic for game number 2?
No. So listen, here's what I'm going to do. I have 2 angles, and I'm going to take both of them so I come out on top. One.
Is that what your wife's OF is doing as well?
Mo. Oh, that was a good one. I'm only going to say good things about Aviator and Adams in this game so that I uncaster curse the other 2. And I'm going to say that this is a callback to when Aviator was not Aviator, that this is when Aviator was Doofus. We are channeling our inner Doofus to come out on top in our Fiesta gameplay because it's the best way that we succeed.
Sure. And regardless, it makes for very fun games to watch, right? So, but there is a little schnickerdoodle coming out here from Fine. So he's managed to sniff out Aviator's Fiesta, which is very interesting. And Aviator does go for the consort, normally a fantastic Fiesta opener, but against a snail, it's that much worse.
Is this the first snail on 1 that we've seen successfully catch someone?
I think it is, yeah.
So far today.
There you go.
King Dan's the snail dancer.
I want to give kudos for the successful read to Fine. A little bit scared of caster cursing.
Yeah. But it seems like they thought that both... They definitely snailed the Fiesta, they just didn't know which, because they snailed both lanes.
Well, I mean, if you think about it, if you snail both lanes and one of them is Fiesta, then you get all that extra pressure. But we all know that you're just playing into Aviator's hands now. You snailed him. We know he's Fiesta with that consort open. But Aviator has got the game in the bag with that snail on 1.
Mm-hmm.
He is
More surprised than anything to see yet another uncharacteristic, at least as we've come to know him, Adam's pick in Kingsguard. I mean, it in theory pairs nicely, I suppose, with having a Fiesta mate, but no chaos, no redraw.
Yeah, true. I guess Kingsguard and Fiesta has got to be a fairly decent pairing, though, right? If you're planning to play risky on the early game, you might as well have a strong king. But look, here's the thing: so Aviator, after leaking so badly on 1, decided to play very, very safe on 2, but did not get a snail resend. And the things that he built for Wave 2, not very good things on Wave 3, where he's going to be receiving Well, I mean, he might even get a robo after these snails as well. Fine can certainly afford to if he wants to.
But that's it. That's how you know that Aviator is locked in. He was already building bad value for Wave 3 here to help ensure that he leaks on 3, because nothing would be worse than him holding here.
Well, he pressed the reroll button and he found the Shroom, which he desperately needed because he didn't have any other arcane that was playable. Does get the 80 send though, and even though the Shroom is very good on 3, it dies pretty quickly with no split tanking helping out there from the consort, so this will be a decent leak. Or actually, he's picking off a couple more Froggos right at the very end here. That's a 27% against an 80 send. That's a very good Fiesta.
That was pretty
As
slick.
I called it, he is absolutely dialed in here. There's no stopping Aviator this game.
This caster is on point, man. Alright.
Broken clock and whatnot, yeah?
So are we going to see the brutes?
Well, we
We're going
do.
to see one brute.
We see one Bada Brute from Adams into Fine, who will be quite undervalued, and in fact, he can't build anything useful for this wave. I assume Fine is digging into his reroll as we speak. He has, but he didn't find anything useful, so all he can afford to play is yet another Slime, not known for its wave 4 prowess, it has to be said.
Fine looking absolutely terrible here. Only impact on a Swift Wave. What is he thinking?
Yeah, he should have rolled better, right?
Honestly.
I see
you
what
know,
you're doing there, Seto.
I'm trying so hard. It feels horrible.
Oh, this is a devastating wave 4 leak here from Fine. 77% there. Polska Goromant, it seems, in this game. Meanwhile, though, Adams 67% against the income send. Okay, I mean, he was actually looking really good here with the Howlers and the Ranger, but not only does he leak basically the same amount as Fine does, but against income, his teammate doesn't cover, and they're the ones who are losing King HP here on wave 4. Oh, never mind, the Brute does still do its thing, bringing Rampampan down to 87, but it has to be said, Adams leaking so much against income really turned what was a crushing blow there on 4 into a fairly even trade.
Barely even trade, but Aviator, being the smart man that he is, knowing he had to hold 4, did so with enough value to help cover up some of that weakness without appearing to be too strong, while maintaining his overbearing Fiesta position.
Yeah, he's absolutely beasting it indeed. Yet more income coming out from the players, although Fine and Pavida, they are starting to stockpile those bricks to some extent, which is exactly what we kind of said at the top of the game, right? They need to show a little bit more proactivity in the early game if they want to come out on top, and this is a good way to start doing that at least. Will they go 6 or longer? Because we can have double brute here from Pavida if he wants to.
Fine here, sitting on 10 workers, going into wave 5 without all of that much value, but looking pretty okay on this wave, so there's no way that they would leak by double hunting Rat, right?
Right? Yeah, they are still stockpiling their bricks, and when does it want to be? Because Aviator's actually looking very, very strong on 7.
And not too terrible on 8.
Yeah.
To be fair, he's got a. I'm surprised the send didn't come here. To be fair, but I mean, you know, big send trumps the best wave to send sometimes.
True. But also,
For
Pavida is under no pressure now with Aviator going for yet another income send. Okay, they do go for 7. I was about to say that after this income, maybe they can afford to go longer, but they decide to go for the wave 7 send after all. We have Mimic coming up from Pavida. We've got triple Brute there from Fine. Let's see how Aviator and Adams are going to answer this. And actually, it looks like a hardened Mudman, or will he harden at all? Well, Aviator's on value.
Aviator
Probably.
has been putting himself in such a strong position that he knows that even though he's getting sent here, he's got the willpower in the willow shroom to hold on.
Love it. Okay,
Oh,
massive,
no.
massive sends after all. There's 200 against Aviator, there's 220 against the Damned. The Mimic still hasn't killed anything, but that will be a decent leak on both players, it seems. Although Aviator's doing remarkably well with his 845 value, and 46% is all. Not a bad Fiesta, but his teammate leaks 80 as well with 36 gold on that Mimic. So very successful send there from Ram Pam Pam, and a Damiator about to lose a decent chunk of King HP. But this is why they picked Kingsguard in the first place, right?
Yeah, I mean, you want to get your Kingsguard value nice and early. It was looking real nice for Adams there for a while. That Mimic was the only unit targeting the Sunfang for a good 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But once it fell, it was easy snacking on those slimes.
Nice. And back to the income from 3 of our 4 players. Pavided is stockpiling his bricks though, as Adams does look remarkably weak on the 9th wave, so I could see another kind of 200 Mythium send getting some decent work done there.
Fine, only hunting 0 rats now on this wave, when they're already, like, I feel like strong enough that, especially if this Trinity Archer lives here with exactly the perfect amount of HP, never mind, not hunting rats probably the right call.
Having said that, if they are eyeing up wave 9, it probably would have been quite good for him to pro league here. But regardless, the wave is going to be long enough with his only damage being impact, sorry. They do save though. Okay, that's surprising. I was fairly certain they would send here.
Well, that's because Aviator was setting up a trap on this wave to try and make it look like they weren't that strong. Having the Harpy, having the Wild Shroom, tanking early would have been good damage otherwise. But they were very stealthily holding on to this Holy Avenger here, trying to outbrain their opponents as usual, because Aviator is obviously one of the greatest players of all time.
Absolutely, yeah. And yet, Ram Pam Pam have not let go of their bricks, and Fine's gone for the double treasure hunt as well. So, very low value here, 875, maybe now hoping to pro league. Pavided's on fire, by the way.
I don't see a world. Yeah, Pavided, by the way, has been sneakily making tons of workers. Every wave pushing probably one more than I would have felt comfortable. But he's got a lot of pressure coming into him with the greatest player in the world, Aviator, sending into him this wave.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. Now they just go for a couple of snails here to afford the units that they need. But Aviator and Adams going for the undercut now with, it has to be said, fairly decent sends of their own. We've got Pack Leader here from Aviator, we've got Mole and some Schneckers from Adams. Will either player be able to hold? Pavided is decently undervalued and on fire, by the way.
However, think about it. That gold going into Aviator's pocket on next wave when he's looking really bad with a Hardened Mudman here and 2 Holy Avengers could be devastating if, and I don't want to say this, I do not want to say it, but it could be very spooky.
Oh, both players going to leak. Actually, I thought Fine might have a chance there, but not quite. So they're actually saved maybe a little bit longer than they could afford to, because they're going to lose a decent amount of King HP here and give, crucially, a lot of gold over to the side of Adamiator the wave before their send.
It's looking awfully spooky now.
It is. There is double overwork. Insta-pick here from Ram Pam Pam, and the sends are enormous. Look this.
Is there a world where Aviator and Adams don't pick counterattack? Like Pulverizer is fantastic, but they have to know their name right here.
Yeah.
That extra Mythium into King Ups would be actually very valuable.
So Adams already has the counterattack. I assume he's about to put all of that into into king upgrades, as you suggested. Aviator still hasn't picked anything yet. Still building, I suppose. Aviator counterattack as well. Oh, they actually go for this end. Maybe they're thinking that Fine and Pavided would try and save once again. But they saven't. And here is what looks to me like a game-ending send from Rampampam. 520 myth for Aviator, 640 for Adams. Will either player be able to hold these enormous Wave 11 sends? I'll tell you for one thing, Aviator, he holdn't. That's 75% leak there for him, and Adams not far behind whatsoever. 83% for Adams, and that is certainly more than enough to kill their 60% HP king. Unless...
Kingsguard?
How OP is Kingsguard really? Is the answer just yes? No, not this time. We have to say though, if they had gone for Income King there with their counterattack, they would have survived.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. But I can say it now. Wow. Look at Aviator channeling his inner doofus. Jeez, man. What is he thinking?
Yeah. That was not ideal. Although Doofus did steal Aviator's identity there for a while, didn't he? I think he was like riffling through his bin bags, pulling out his driver's license and his shredded mail, and adopted his name for a little while. So maybe Aviator decided to get his own back there by cosplaying Doofus on one of his many failed Fiesta games.
I mean, imagine having to like straight up change countries because you lost your name and title.
Yeah. I mean, fair enough. Honestly, if your identity's been stolen by a crack addict living in California, then you probably have to move country for your own safety. But guys, that is the first tied series that we've seen of the entire day today, which is pretty exciting stuff. That was a lock-in and a cartel there?
Oh, it was lock-in cartel, yes.
Lock-in cartel, okay. But more importantly, the series is tied 1-1, and that means for the first time today, guys, we get to see a game number 3. That's very exciting.
Very exciting indeed. I can go back to being a non-biased caster, as it was me who willed this extra game time for our viewers.
Very impressive stuff. Very, very impressive stuff. I'm sure all the viewers are grateful to you for your selfless service there, Seto. It's going to be very exciting to at least get one Game 3 in the final series of the day, and it's the one that is everything to play for. Remember, last chance match, so whoever wins this final game of the day will make it through to tomorrow's semi-final. Whoever loses, their tournament journey will end here. So very, very high stakes match right now. And I just can't call it either way. I mean, Rampampam, they played that one phenomenally well, but so did Adamiator in game number 1. So really, really could go either way. I'm happy whoever wins. Go ahead.
I'm very happy whoever wins. I would just really want to emphasize here, we saw Fine and Pavided. Like, it was a little bit tough, but I think we're getting some grease on those wheels. We went back to saving, and we went back to like making impactful sends. So hopefully we get to see that one more time, because I feel like for too long we have been happy and comfortable in this auto send meta, and we need to not feel so safe any longer.
We need some spicy early games, and that's certainly what they did for us there in game number 2. Let's see, will they keep it up here in game number 3? Oh, wow. Okay, so Pavided going for a bit of a risky pick here in the all or nothing game number 3, goes Megamind and lands on Saboteur, which itself is a very risky mastermind, because of course you cannot upgrade the king.
Going to see some polar opposite strategies here between a very, very strong Kingsguard king and a king that cannot have king ups in a big way until later, when Fine's going to be on the hook for all of them.
Yeah. The thing about Saboteur, like, it's not just that you can't upgrade your king, which obviously is quite a big drawback, but it's also the fact that it can often leave you in a very awkward position in the early game because you want income, and the only way you can do that is by sending mercenaries. So you end up kind of feeding your opponent in many ways, unless you go for a very kind of support focused playstyle where you just apply a ton of pressure. Then it's a bit different.
Which, I mean, we've seen as the key to their victory. Handshake gaming did not work. So a little bit more brick saving can only do well. And yet again, the snail has gone into the wrong lane, unfortunately.
Yeah, it
Or
really is a bit of a doomed day for snails, so far it seems. So an easy hold there for Pavided, plus 4 gold, don't mind if I do.
That feels really good when you are Saboteur, like when you're not able to get that free king up on 1, if that's kind of what you like to do. Holding on to that, like, you know, do I snail on 1, do I not, and then having to hold on to it. It's very tense very early. Saboteur kind of makes you on edge the whole game.
Yeah, right. Now we do have...
Especially sending into something like a Fire Ellie, where you know you're unlikely, without an absolutely massive send, to break that in the first 4 waves or so. You kind of often want to, to spend a bit of myth on king ups there.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Absolutely. Now, interestingly, Adams did go for a post-income snail here into Fine, who drops the batter egg, so should be completely fine. The question is whether he's going to stay low workers and try and keep that bad boy alive on wave 3 or not. Because Adams can send a post-income robo. And yeah, Fine has full pushed, but he's going to add a few seedlings here, so he should be able to kill anything apart from a robo. The question is whether Adams decides to go for that. He definitely can afford to.
I don't actually think I would have spent the money on the seedlings here. I don't see the value in it, as the wave dies pretty much regardless, so...
There's the
Sans
robo.
a hermit.
Yeah, I guess the theory is that the seedlings are going to kill anything that's not a robo. So, like, if it's just an income send, a DT, then probably the seedlings are enough. But the problem is, this robo is going to one-shot the egg. Adams leaks 64% to the income, though, so this is kind of a repeat of what we saw in the prior game, where Adams went for some early aggression. I think it was wave 4 that time, did leak his guy, but then leaked a larger amount to the income send. Well, he's done the same here. He's gone for a robo send. He did break the egg, which is very important, but then he's leaked 60% against a lizard snail.
I mean, we're just seeing the caster curse yet again. Here's me saying, Fire Ellie, it cannot be broken early,
Yeah.
but it sure can if you add absolutely nothing, and assume you're going to be safe.
Yeah, that was quite greedy there from Adams at 190 value going into wave 3. And it does kind of take the edge off the fact that he broke the egg. Like, again, he's done some great work there. He's leaked Fine, he's destroyed the egg, but he's fed a decent amount of gold in the process.
So I feel like that is one of the new scary things about Egg, is even though it is incredibly easy to break on 3, if you do not break it, those extra stats early make it so much stronger in the early game. So he was forced to suicide push there, I feel like, in order to ensure that Egg gets broken on Fine's side.
Yeah. Meanwhile, though, Pavided going for a little bit of an unforced error there. He went up to 8 workers, and as a result, he leaked half the wave against a single dragon turtle here on wave 4. So everything that we just said about Adams kind of lessening the blow through his leak to income is completely reversed now. You know, Pavided's given a ton of gold over to Aviator, and all of a sudden, things are looking quite spicy indeed. Now, Fine does go for a brute send here on wave 5. I don't think he'll be able to add a robo into the mix. We do have a hardened Modman here from Aviator trying to hold this. Very, very good, of course.
Of course. I think it's important to remember our players have, at a minimum, well, so I believe this is game 7 for everyone here, that's still 7 games played. That's still 4 hours. Just about these guys have been sitting in chairs, and that's also presuming that they didn't play any practice games coming into today. So it's understandable if our players might be a little bit tired.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you're not wrong. Now, there was a 40 Mythium edition, but it was only a lizard. As a result, Aviator leaking just 24% here to the full send. I think he's very happy with that, honestly. And the thing is, Fine could quite easily go for a resend should he so choose into the D-hardened Mudman.
Looks like AB did not push off of this though, so he's kind of expecting that resend.
Yeah. And here it comes, but it's only income from Fine. So Aviator's decision to overbuild is a good decision, I think, but not necessarily rewarded by like a double robo resend.
For sure, it does look like he's in a good position to just free push through 7 and 8 now, with the odd cat stack here and there.
And same for Adams, right? His build is super strong on wave 7, so these guys can just push to the moon after receiving this income send here, and they already have rather a large amount of bricks in their stockpile.
Yeah, I mean, both of them can flat out afford a Mimic before Wave 6 even began. That's usually a pretty good sign that your workers and your Mythium is relatively healthy. Adams here does kill his Fire Elemental, but he's got that excellent impact damage from all of the slime babies coming in here.
Mm-hmm. And there is that Mimic coming out now for Wave 7. Pavided will have a full casket, so he should be okay. And another Mimic from Adams as well. So let's see how either player will answer. There's the Iron Maiden, of course, and a Canopy coming out from Fine as his answer. So, I mean, decent units, honestly, for Wave 7, but the sends are pretty large. It looks like there's going to be a Brute Edition coming out from Adams to go with his Mimic. Aviator can't quite afford that, but does get a Robo instead.
I mean, Fine really suffers with the Brute, as it's pretty much the only thing that kills the Cano on 6. Or, sorry, 7.
Mm-hmm. Now the problem is the Hydra dies, and that exposes both of the squishier units behind it, although they are perfectly split tanking, so that's something at least, but they do both go down. Now the Nightmare and the Canopy dying almost simultaneously. Meanwhile, we have the leak over on Pavided, but he's done extremely well, killing everything but the send, more or less. Only 9 gold on Adam's Mimic and 15 on Aviator, so they didn't farm too much gold, but they will be able to get a nice chunk of damage into the King here on Wave 7.
Pavided not being able to have any King ups this game, kind of costing them pretty big here on Wave 7.
Yeah, wow. Actually, they're dropping even below 50% just from a single leak. So, yeah, that's kind of the problem with Saboteur, right? He couldn't upgrade the King. He knew the send was coming. There just wasn't anything that he could do about it. Meanwhile, Adamiator, they've both leaked a few times. In fact, if we can bring this chart up, we can see there was a 64% for Adams. Actually, only a 24% leak from Aviator. Other than that, a flawless game. And you can see their King is looking very healthy over there.
With that big leak, Fine and Pavided being able to push still behind Aviator in workers, but Adams somehow being at the Adams being at the bottom of the worker push here. Pavided having a bit of a send here, and not believing that he'll get that extra bit of Mythium he needs.
Yeah, sends from everyone though, so there's no income King in sight. It is rather a full send from all 4 of the players, and I have to say this, what is bound to be a Mole Hermit coming out from Pavided, looking very strong indeed into what we see in Adam's lane. I assume Adams is re-rolling because what he has on board is not very good. Oh, he's just going for a second bunk, but I mean the Mole Hermit is crushing against that. So there's still mega sends for both Fine and Pavided as well, who, by the way, need to hold here because with just 48% on their completely non-upgraded King, they're doomed if they both leak. So let's keep eyes on Aviator and Adams. The Mole Hermit doing its thing. Both bunks are down, but he's doing very well, honestly, as is Aviator. However, Pavided has fully held, and fine. He's holding as well. Aviator leaking just 33%, but crucially, Rampampam, both members holding the send here. That's very important.
That
Very
is so
sorry.
ridiculously important, especially because Fine pretty much got sent the worst thing that he could have been sent for his Halo and natural tank. He got the Imp Brute, so his Nightmare was going to be able to do damage if the Brute was on it. The Halo has the extra units that has to kill in the Imps. You know, it could have been very scary for him.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Fine actually going for a spicy resend. Both members of Rampampam going for the spicy resend. Maybe this will catch Adamiator off guard. There's the double D-hardened Mudman here for Aviator, although he is at least spending to try and stay close to value. Adams, meanwhile, I mean his build, if it was bad on 9, it is terrible on 10. There's just no way that Adams can hold this resend now. It's all about damage mitigation, I think.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see 2 quite sizable leaks here, even with those Nightmares. This is just a great read by Fine.
Aviator is spending the majority of the day preparing for resends, which I think has been very bright as far as like reading how Fine will be playing, and it's worked out for him pretty much every time, but just being bad on 9 and 10, not good enough, unfortunately.
So decent leaks coming out. Adams did actually surprisingly well. I suppose his Aquas at least killed the Sens quickly. But they're going to be losing a decent chunk of King HP. Sure, they have the Kingsguard to minimise it, but at least evening up the King HP and then some. So Rampampam, some much needed damage dealt there. But the bricks are now on the side of Aviator and Adams. Yeah, that's crazy.
There's only so much Kingsguard can do for you when you don't have any upgrades in yet. A little bit of Saboteur role-playing.
True. We do see the Robo Army pick up from both members of Adamiator, and Aviator's going for a full harden here, which means, well, does it force 12 actually? Because Adams is very strong there.
He is, but his value is not.
His value is not, indeed. But both Fine and Pavided are also not very strong in value terms.
But they do both go for the Robo Army, so it's looking very much like when they spy those Hardens and Adam's value, I'm expecting them to match here.
Oh, they have to. It's definitely a 12 send coming out from both sides, there's no doubt about that. Yeah, we see it coming out already. Both sides, I mean, the game will end here. I just don't know which way, because it's definitely coming down to a race. Neither side has real king-ups, and both sides are quite low. So, after having the longest game of the stream so far, we are now having what looks to be the shortest here in game number 3. I don't see either side surviving this, really. I think it's just going to come down to a race.
So when it comes down to a race, I think tanks win. Tanks and delay win, and Fine here with this and this is going to lead to quite a bit of delay on his side, especially since there's nothing really to kill those tanks coming out of Adams. He just has stuff to protect the wave.
Oh, let's have a look at Pavided's Phoenix. It does tank quite nicely, actually. In fact, it's going to survive the onslaught. That's a perfect Phoenix there from Pavided. Let's check out some of the other lanes. Fine. I mean, it does look like he's getting run over, actually. But talking about run over, Aviator, oh, he does get a final summon, but still, that's a 93% leak. However, Adams, he is stalling for days. In fact, does he just hold? He does.
Wow.
But wait, is holding actually the worst thing he can do? Uh-oh. It's still, it's still a race, but this side is going to lose. So Rampampam, a very valiant effort, but unfortunately their journey ends here with Adamiator victorious, guaranteed that spot in tomorrow's semi-final. So very, very well played to Adams and Aviator. They have certainly earned that position, and man, what a nail biter for a final game.
Yeah,
I'm 100% Caster Curse.
it's great to see such a close series and ending in in such a close fashion as well.
Yeah,
That's
I mean, what better way to end like an iconic last chance match than a king race on 12? You can't get any closer than that. So big props to both teams for a really, really impressive set of games today. Ultimately, Ram Pam Pam unsuccessful, but they played the series really, really well. To be fair, they played the series really well against Abrasiet as well. It's just that King Dans and Widdowson appear to be like on another level this tournament. We'll have to see if they can repeat that performance tomorrow and just steamroll their way to victory, or if any of the other teams will be able to give them a run for their money. But for now, guys, that is all. That's the end of the show for today. We've seen some really, really exciting games. We've seen Abrasiet back in action in style, with 4-0 in their 2 games. And we've seen some really intense back and forth as well in this last chance match. Damietta do secure their place. And do we have results, do you guys know, from the other half of the bracket or not? I
Just closed the screen.
Dev Hacks have beaten...
Okay, so Dev Hacks, that is
One of
Trakia and Lucy. So they will be in the semi-finals. And the Chaos Chemists, that's Atrocity and Inderhol. So really, really exciting semi-final matchup. That's going to be Chaos Chemists against Damietta, and it's going to be Dev Hacks against Abrasiet. So the semi-finals already are going to be an incredibly high level of Legion. But having said that, so was the group stage. All of these games were very, very high level with very, very talented players. And it's made for a really, really fun month. So I've enjoyed the show a lot. I hope you guys have as well. A massive thank you to my 2 co-casters, Nick T and Seto. It's been a lot of fun, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
Absolutely. It's been fantastic. Been an honour. Thanks for having us.
No problem
No,
at all.
absolutely. I had a wonderful time. I thank you guys for having me, even as a white image on the screen here. Or, oh, pardon. No, I'm not even an image on the screen here. I am a USA flag with a slime on it, which is apt and fitting. Thank you.
You're very welcome. How is your camera getting on, by the way?
You know what? I've almost given up. Let me go. I actually should go tend to that. Let me see what's going on.
When your Legion casting brings in as much money as your wife's OF, I'm sure she'll be happy to relinquish control of it for you.
Yeah, we've had some super, super fun games, guys, and everyone in the Twitch chat, make sure you are back here again tomorrow, because those semi-finals you do not want to miss. If today's games are anything to go by, it's going to be a super fun set of games, and we're really, really looking forward to those. But for now, that's about all we have time for on the stream today. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and we will see you again tomorrow. So just to sign off for the day, I'm going to leave you once again with Someone Like Jules by our very own Nick T. So enjoy, and see you tomorrow. Goodbye.